young man speaking in the city square, trying to tell somebody that he cares. Can you blame the voice of youth for asking what is true? Yeah, the ones that you're calling wild are gonna be the leaders in a little while. When will the lonely voice of youth cry what is true? This our world's waking to a newborn babe, and I solemnly swear it'll be their way. You better help that voice of youth find what is true. And the lonely voice of youth cries, what is true?
Boom. All right. No reason to panic, even though I went boom. It's fine. I mean, as Hanselman says, don't panic. He says it right here. Must be true. There's no reason to panic at all, really. Because I've got my Sam Powell. It's right here. See? I've got some lovely dandelion root chicory blah 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 tea for I don't know, allegedly flushes your whole system out and like cleanses all your organs and magically makes the aliens leave you alone, or I don't know what it does. And I've got my Muppet cup. Have you considered? This might be worth considering. I will say, do not believe anything Ixnay says. Synchronized panicking is not a battle plan. Of course it is. Of course it is. And we're going to enact synchronized panicking here. It's a bit of a different stream, perhaps. We'll see. So, yeah, I guess I'll just start out with things are getting weird. Right? Like you thought things were weird. No, but they're getting weird. They're getting weird. That's for sure. Things are definitely sort of coming out of the woodwork. We'll say they're beginning to be revealed. A lot of things that oh, that's just a joke. Yo ho ho ho, right? People are trolling. They're getting caught trolling. People. A lot of weird stuff is happening, and what you should do is believe what you see. Right? If somebody tells you they're a bad person, just believe them. I had a wonderful video I released yesterday on like some of this stuff. I mean, if you consider yesterday's video very carefully, yeah, you start to see these patterns, right? And it's just there's a lot going on. And a lot of people are just revealing themselves to be bad actors. And a lot of people who will say, seemed good are suddenly, oh, this wasn't good at all. And you can interpret that a number of ways. It doesn't really matter at this point. Make sure you actually know the difference between good and evil, though, because it seems like the biggest problem is people don't know the difference. And when you don't know the difference, the first thing you're going to do is say, oh, no, that's just a yoke. Ho, ho, ho. It's a yoke. Ho, ho. It's a knee slapper. Ho, ho. What if it's not? Like, I don't understand. It's a big problem. And it's everywhere now, but I think like we're just going to see a lot more stuff, probably stuff we shouldn't see. And some of this is all about that. Like there's just a lot of stuff in the world you shouldn't see. The difference is that things that you shouldn't see, but that are bad should get punished, even if you don't see the things they're being punished for. And that always makes everybody afraid, right? Because the bottom line is everyone's guilty. And what they're afraid of is that they'll get punished too. But like you should. So can't sympathize there. Just not going to happen. And yeah, I mean, it's a big deal. So we're going to talk about panic because a lot of the reasons for panic are being revealed, we'll say, right? So what do I turn to in our new favorite book here? The Scandal of Prediction, indeed. A prophet is not someone with special visions, just someone blind to most of what others see. I don't think that's a complete definition by Nassim Taleb, but I like it. I like it. And I think yeah, we'll dive right in with the copious notes that I took. Panic is a function of anxiety, or rather, your inability to control it. And that's my live stream monologue. No, that is all the notes I took. It's just been a day. It's been a week, and it's been a day. And so, I will riff on panic. But I wanted to get that out there. Like, the best way to think about panic is in the way that I outlined: anxiety and your inability to control it. When you have anxiety and it's uncontrolled, you are prone to panic about everything. You panic about all kinds of things. People will panic about nothing at all. Like, I've seen people panic about streetlights. I heard a story last night about somebody panicking because someone got on the wrong side of the bed and then promptly moved. Panic. People just, like, there's a lot of panic there. And that's the problem, is that when you're panicking, you're out of control. And when you're out of control, you can't act and react appropriately. And when you can't act and react appropriately, bad things happen to you and those around you, because now you become a liability, right? You become something that has to be managed. No one likes to be managed. But sometimes you need to be managed. You might have a money manager. Weird thing to talk about. A lot of people's panics get managed by others, because otherwise the panicker gets worse. Generally speaking, I mean, sometimes people just burn themselves out and like flop over. That happens too. And sometimes that's all you can do when someone's panicking. You just got to wait till they burn themselves out. It's not good for them, but sometimes you've got no choice. And the big deal about panic is that it allows you to avoid doing things. Actions you should take, reactions you should have, right? Some people talk about, oh, that was stunning, so I didn't know what to do, right? I would argue that's a form of panic, right? You got a signal that overwhelmed your system, and now you're unable to operate. Panic is generally just seen as operating sort of randomly and not in a line with whatever happened, right? Like, you hear a gunshot, everybody panics to start running this way and that instead of just getting down. Sure, that happens. But I think panic is also the staring blindly, doing nothing, right? That freeze response. So everybody talks about fight or flight and never talk about freeze. Right. Kind of important. But I think flight and freeze are both panic responses. I think that's what they are technically. And I think it's important that we recognize that, because if we don't recognize panic, we can't make a decision about what to do about our panic. We can't make the decision that we need to work on this and have other people help us with it. And some people are prone to panic. The less stable your environment is, the more prone you are to random panic. And you should be. Like, that's not a bad thing. It's like when you're in a less stable place, minor things are, reasonable panics, because they can be destabilizing to you in a way that if you had a stable environment, those things would not be destabilizing. And so we have to understand those differences and react and respond appropriately. And this is not an easy thing to do. But panic has to be managed because it is the breakdown of our ability to do work in the world. Any action or reaction is work in the world. May not seem like work because you're not getting paid, or whatever your definition of work is that's completely wrong. It's work. You're putting in effort towards something. And maybe it's just mental effort towards keeping yourself disabled, whether by running around like a chicken with its head cut off or by freezing in response and not doing anything. And the problem is, from the outside, someone with prudence and temperance maybe seem to be freezing, right? When they're not. They're just considering their options. Maybe they're like, the best option right now is not to do anything because lack of control. The idea of self-control is not knowing how hard to hit somebody. It's also that, but it's more importantly knowing when to try to hit somebody and when not to. Because if you know you can't hold back your punch from a kill, maybe you shouldn't punch them unless you're prepared to kill them. Because that happens. And if you take martial arts, they will talk about this in various ways. Unless they're terrible martial arts instructors, which certainly can happen. So it's not always obvious when somebody's, we'll say, mentally disabled by cognitive overwhelm, which is very much what panic really is, just cognitive overwhelm, and the need to either act or the inability to do so. So what do you do about that? Well, first you need to know if you're prone to it. Some people are not prone to panic. I remember early when I was taking driving lessons, somebody did something, a particularly difficult intersection in Lowell, granted, but they did something completely unexpected that I never could have anticipated. And the driving instructor said, wow, you handled that really well. And of course, right as soon as we were out of the situation and I was on the straight road and everything was fine, I definitely had a complete meltdown. I was able to drive, but I was like hyperventilating, and I was like, well, I better get a handle on this. This is going to be a problem if I panic after the event's already over and there's no more threat. But that's very much what I do. Now, I've since learned to handle the panic after as well, so no big deal now. But, when I was 16 and a half and learning to drive, it was a big deal. You're young, you don't know. I had never panicked about anything before, right? So that's one of the issues. You have to be able to interface and interact with the world in a calm fashion, because if you panic, it's no good. And that interaction with panic is only important if either you can get a hold on it by yourself, which requires a bunch of skills that you would get from other people and help you would get from outside. I have martial arts training, really helpful, right? I was also a Boy Scout. I went to 4-H club. I did, summer camps and stuff. Otherwise, you have to defer to other people. If you don't have someone to defer to, you're screwed. Jordan Peterson talks about this, right? He talks about the child sees a mouse, looks to the mother. If the mother also notices the mouse and the mother screams, the child will scream, because children are subject to mimicry, as are adults, by the way. This isn't that hard. Everybody's making a big deal out of this. This isn't that hard. NPCs, yeah, you're just talking about mimicry, and you're making it way harder than it needs to be. If you're prone to panicking, it might be because you grew up prone to panicking. That's possible. It might be for other reasons. It might be because you have high anxiety all the time. Maybe you don't feel safe about your living situation. Maybe you don't feel safe about your car. Maybe you don't feel safe about your country. And the thing is, panic is always something that is used against you. When you're panicking, other people are able to take control of the situation around you and able to take control of you, often due to your absence. A lot of criminals, and I've known many a criminal in my day, unfortunately, but you go to certain parts of the cities and they're there. They're there. They will look for situations where lots of people are panicking and go in and steal wallets. Absolutely a thing. Absolutely a thing. Because they're very calm and they're not involved in whatever the panic is. And it's a very successful strategy. Other people will take advantage of you while you're panicking. Circumstances themselves will automatically take advantage of you while you're panicking. And if panicking looks a lot like inaction sometimes for some people, which again, I think it does, boy, there could be a lot going on, right? That you don't really know about. Untrackable says, I panic about finances and then procrastinate, sometimes into being late. Been there, done that. Yeah, a lot of times, too much choice, that so-called choice paralysis, that's a type of panicking. You're panicking because you can't decide and you feel like you need to, right? And what I've learned to do over the years, through Stoicism and other practices is when you make a decision, it's done. You're going to live with the consequences of that decision. That way, you're not panicking about decisions you've made, like moves you've made. And then you can get into the practice of saying, oh yeah, that was a bad move. I screwed up. And just owning the bad move, which is always a better strategy. And it's weird because they talk about the, fail fast. Well, that's what that is. But you have to own your failure or you didn't fail. You didn't get the right message. You won't change strategies. You won't change systems. You won't switch it up. You'll stay panicked because you'll be like, oh my goodness, I made a bad decision. Now what? I was like, well, now you own the decision and then you go back into planning mode. That's what. It's a reset. It's not a continuation. You have to have a break with the bad decision so that you're not continually panicking over the fact that you made a bad decision. And Jordan Peterson talks about this all the time, right? He talks about, what does this letter mean? What if I don't get into college? What if I don't get into any college? What is college? Is college like the end of my life? And he traces that chain all the way through. That's anxiety. That's panic. That's mixing up the layers. I know many a person who said, well, I didn't get into college I wanted, so I went into a trade. Problem solved. Like they were just like, yeah, if I can't have it my way, I'm going to do something else. If I can't play this game on my terms, I'm not going to play this game. It's a good strategy. It's a really good strategy, right? You can't be like that all the time about everything, obviously, but also if you're prone to panic, not playing the games that cause you anxiety is probably a good plan. And we need not panic because, again, a panic is a breakdown in order, right? It's a breakdown in your personal ability to maintain your personal order. Whether it results in a freeze or running around, doesn't matter, right? And maybe a little bit of panic is inevitable. And maybe not showing panic is important in certain situations, but maybe also expressing panic is important in certain other situations. It depends who's around you and what's going on. If you're anxious about anything, you should make sure other people know that when it's relevant to them. Because the problem is the discernment of when it's relevant and what's right and how much. I get that. That's also the correct answer, though. And this is one of the problems when we don't have a proper hierarchy. We're not thinking about the world in terms of different layers of analysis. Is not paying one electric bill going to destroy your credit and force you into bankruptcy? No. No, it's really not. But if you don't know that, you could panic. And that panic could lead you to skip 3 in a row electric bills, get your electricity shut off, and affect your credit score. That could happen. But it's the panic that caused that, not the missing of one electric bill payment. The layers of analysis matter, and you can't understand layers of analysis if you're busy not understanding the hierarchy or denying that it exists or trying to be equal. It's not mixing up the layers, probably related to hierarchy. Yeah, it's related to not having any. Layers are vertical. They're part of the vertical causality. When you don't understand the layers, when you're mixing those up, when you're not clear about the impact of something, you will panic. And that panic will not be good for you. And it will not be good for the people around you, because either they're relying on you not to panic or to be there about something, but you're too busy distracted with your panic, because panic is all about distraction, baby. Or they have to actively take care of you, in which case that's removing them from doing other things. And there's always a cost. There's always a trade-off. You have to be aware of that. You have to take that seriously, because it's seriously important. You have to know if you're prone to panicking, if you're prone to anxiety, if you put yourself in an anxious situation. A lot of people are just running away from things instead of running towards something stable. A lot of people are out there going, well, I just want X, Y, and Z that other people have higher up the hierarchy. It's like, well, but you're just analyzing things at the wrong layer, and that's causing you anxiety, and anxiety leads to panic. And that's the problem. It's absolutely everywhere. What's the problem of social media? Panic. Why? Flood of information and inability to filter. Did you know right now in Europe, there are people being removed from running for office in countries, multiple of them, using bizarre legal technicalities, in some cases, interference from other nations? Is that a reason to panic? Not unless you're in one of those countries. And even then, maybe not. Because what good's your panic going to do you? Panic is not good for you. Floods of information that cause you anxiety and lead to more panicking is not good for you. And it's not good for me. And it's not good for everybody else. And we're stuck in social media panic. The purpose of social media is not to panic you. But that is the inevitable result. It's a trade-off. You want social media, you get more panic, more anxiety. You're not getting around that, ever. There's no technical or non-technical solution to that. There are just human limitations all over the place. And when you aggregate them, when you amplify them, when you use the lever of technology on them, you get a lot of panic. That's what you get. You increase the anxiety level, increase the panic incidence. Just how it is. Sorry. It's been demonstrated 6 ways to Sunday in more studies than you probably know exist. They may not couch it that way, but it's clear as day from the data and conclusions in many cases. There's a lot of panic out there. And the thing is, you want to get people's attention? The odds that you'll get them to panic are pretty high when you're drawing their attention away from whatever else it is and onto you. That increases their anxiety. It decreases their attention span, which is related to your stability or how stable you feel. And therefore, it increases the incidence of panic. Why everybody doesn't understand this sort of inherently from birth, I cannot understand. I'm not capable of seeing it at all. It seems quite obvious. But the panic is there, and the panic is real, and the panic is what's causing a lot of problems. Now, I still think there's a competency crisis, but you know what? People who are reasonably competent aren't when they panic. So just increasing social media exposure throughout a population is going to decrease the overall competence of the population. And if that competence is marginal, it's going to fall off the edge. And you're going to see a lot more incompetence for sure. And you're going to see a lot less overall competence for sure. And if you think that's not part of what we're seeing, I got news for you. You need to panic because that's part of what we're seeing. That panic's not going to do you any good, but maybe it'll wake you up, which is the purpose of it. Panic is not entirely bad. The purpose of it is to shake you out of your comfortable frame and put you in an area where you can refocus on what's around you. You want to be able to see the forest for the trees? Panic is the last ditch effort to make that happen. It's your body, your brain, nature trying to give you a message. And you need to take that message seriously. Because one of two things is likely true. Either you haven't been paying attention to something that's fantastically important that you need to now focus on, or you need to control yourself because you've gotten pulled away from what is important. Either way, there's a proper response to the panic. Either of those responses is a calming response relative to the panic. So if the thing you do in response to panic does not calm you down at least a little bit, it was the wrong answer. It's not that hard. None of this is hard. None of this is hard. I know it's not hard because every human being that has existed before you has been able to do this quite easily, which is how they were able to survive and thrive and build all the cool shit that you have. So it can't be that hard. It can't be. That's not possible configuration. Panic should not result in more panic, worse panic, greater anxiety. It should alleviate all of those things, hopefully to a great degree. These signals are important. Panic was not put there to screw us over, if that's a way to think about any of this at all ever. Panic is an important signal that you must pay attention to. And that signal, how it continues or if it continues, gives you a lot of information. And there are always outliers, so don't use them as examples because that makes you look dumb because you're dumb. Some people will panic about anything. Some people, when their life is quiet and calm, they panic automatically because they're not used to leading a quiet and calm life. And so they always think something's wrong because in the past, something was always wrong. And fair enough. There are people like that in the world. There's not a tiny number of them either, unfortunately. But you can fix that for them, with them, to some degree. And look, you're not going to do away with things, but making them better is still better. A lot of the goal here is to be better. It's not to fix things. It's just to be better. You're not going to fix problems. You're just going to make a series of different trade-offs. And maybe in the process of that, some problems will vanish. I don't know. Wouldn't that be nice? Don't focus on that. If that happens, it's a gift. If it doesn't happen, it's a Tuesday. It'll be fine. Just make it better. A little bit better. One smile better at a time is fine. Perfectly fine. Not a big deal. Just be better. Just a little bit better. Don't panic. And yeah, I mean, obviously I'm familiar with Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and The Towel, and I do love Douglas Adams, but also the contrast between the end of the world for real over a paperwork snafu, a bureaucratic error, is prophetic of the times in which we live, as was the movie Brazil. If you never saw the movie Brazil, Brazil's great. I love that movie. But panicking over the inevitability of the government and the fact that, we'll say, spirits or powers and principalities larger than you make errors, it's kind of dumb because you make errors too. And yeah, their errors are bigger and worse for people below them. And also, lightning strikes the earth. You're like, what do you want me to do? You're not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to do anything. Nothing is going to change. You need to move on. And one of the ways that panic, that loss of control manifests is in anger and resentment. You ever see anger and resentment in the world? A lot of that's just a function of panic. Somebody found out the world did not work the way they wanted it to work, or the way they expected it to work, or the way they were told it worked, or the way they thought it worked from their little video game idea of the world. And they had a break. They panicked. And that panic manifested as anger and resentment. They're constantly anxious, usually at themselves. And now they're angry. They're resentful. They want to change in the world. They're not getting it. It makes them unstable and unhappy. And it makes other people unhappy. And when you have exemplified anger and resentment in the world, you're going to mimic anger and resentment, at least more than you do now. And it doesn't even matter if you personally have that problem, although I'd argue we all do. Other people do. Right? And it is a cascading effect because it turns out we're stuck on this planet with each other. I don't know what to tell you. Like, that already happened to you. It's over. Like, there's nothing to be done about it, right? Other than accept it and move on, which is one of the ways you combat panic. It's weird. It's almost like it's a universal principle or pattern that's everywhere or something. And that's the problem. When we don't recognize panic, when we don't recognize the signal, it manifests in bad ways for us. And because we happen to be on a planet with other people, that impacts people around us and nature and our relationship to ourselves. Like, it's a spiral. It's not good. And the panic is spreading. It's a flood of information and a flood of panic. And as I outlined earlier, those two things are definitely related to one another. But they're not the same thing, right? You can panic an entire population by getting to just focus on something, one thing that they can't do anything about, and that population will panic pretty reliably. Not everybody in it, but also, who cares? You're dealing with groups. The fact of exceptions is a given. right? What's the difference between an optimist, a realist, and a pessimist? Pessimist thinks everybody's going to die. An optimist thinks nobody's going to die. And a realist calculates casualties first. That's all. It's super important. And you may have seen my video with Eric Weinstein. All he's doing is trying to panic people. It's his whole shtick. Panic, 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 panic. But there's hope. I have the key to hope. I, the great Eric, has the key with my magical physics that's completely wrong and mathematically incorrect. Have the key to travel through the stars at greater than light speed. It's how people get control of you right there. That video's a good commentary, I think, on that very phenomena. What about this Sabine Hassenfelder person? Well, that was the video yesterday. You panic people about her, and you say all kinds of things to them without ever speaking a word. You do it all in video editing and colonize someone's thoughts. And then they'll go, oh, they'll have this bad visceral response. They've been subliminally captured and programmed to respond a certain way. It's a real phenomenon. It happens all the time. And 80% of the population is prone to it. Probably you. You have to know about those things. You have to be aware of what makes you panic, because something makes you panic. And you have to figure out, is this a programmed panic trigger that I don't need anymore to survive? Or is this just a panic that comes up over and over and over again because I'm not dealing with something that I need to deal with, or because I get stuck in the wrong layer of analysis? I don't know. But you better figure it out. And you should get some help. Because that's how we get better. We don't get better by ourselves. Oh, I picked up a self-help book. Did you write the self-help book? Did you sell yourself the self-help book? Were you marketed the self-help book? Did you buy it at a store that was run by people? Was it published by a publisher and written by an author? You didn't help yourself. That's a lie. That's what that is. That's a lie. You can't help yourself. You're not alone in the world. That would never work. It doesn't even make any sense to talk like that. If all you have is your own perspective, you're screwed. You can't see anything. That's what arrogance is. You can't see anything. You have only your own perspective. I did this wonderful tweet. I thought it was wonderful. And the thing is, what I was talking about was these people in academia who they will try to redirect your panic towards the plight of an individual or a set of individuals who are particularly disadvantaged in some way. And they will say, see, look at all the harm that's being caused. Okay, maybe. But if it saves 1 million people, do I care that 4 people got hurt? No, I don't. I'm sorry. It's never going to happen that way, ever. I'm a pragmatist. I'm a realist. I just, no. I don't believe in solutions that hurt nobody. I don't believe they exist. I hope I'm wrong, but also I don't believe it. I'm never going to act as if there were solutions that hurt nobody. I'm never going to do that. That sounds arrogant to me. And when you're in the ivory tower and you have time to nitpick the details, you can nitpick the details. You can find a way in which somebody was hurt by something that benefited 1 billion people. I can do that all day. I can do that for you right now off the top of my head. It's not that hard. It's just not good. That's all. It's not good. Don't do that. Someone's always hurt when the world changes and moves. And the world's always changing and moving. Someone's always getting hurt. The question is, on balance, is there goodness or badness? And no one likes that formulation because they don't know good from bad anymore. And the thing is, people who are prone to panic about things in the world in general, if you give them a structure, a good enough structure, a tight enough structure that protects them from all sorts of things, they can be of much use to society. Now, I'm not going to make an exclusivity claim because it's certainly not exclusive. Academia was like that. There were a lot of people who were prone to anxiety in academia. And being in academia made them more useful people because they could settle down and they could focus in on a ridiculous level of detail on something that absolutely is never going to matter to anybody in this world except them. And that's fine. It makes them feel special. It gives them something to do. It keeps them out of the way, right? It gives us a way to make them productive in society, even if their product doesn't have the level of value we paid for it. I'm okay with all that, actually. I'm fine with the wealthy welfare programs to some extent. I'm cool with all of that. But it's not the only reason why people are in academia. No, not by a long shot, but also there's a lot of people like that in academia. But when you don't have that, or when those people are taken out of that environment, because they can't, when you're panicking about something, you can't see it clearly. Oh, this president passed this law, blah, 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 okay. How long does it take for a law to take effect? Oh, but you're linking to something that's happening right now. They haven't even signed the bill. It's a little weird. Why are you panicking? Or why are you manipulating people into panic? That's a heck of a question. There's definitely people doing that. And what do you think social media is doing to you with all this? Look at me, 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 look at me. It's increasing your anxiety. And it's going to make your incidence of panic go up. No matter who you are, no matter how stoic you are, it doesn't make any difference at all. It's going to make it go up. Maybe infinitesimally small, but it's going to make it go up. And if it's doing that to you, what's it doing for all the people who are, we'll say, less well-controlled than yourself? And maybe just measuring people's self-control will tell you a lot more about the people around you than bizarre political theories about purple churches and, economic incentives and political sorts of messaging and what sorts of organizations are paying for what ads on what platforms. Maybe just looking at people's self-control, or if you're really good, inferring their self-control from their panic response. Right. Now, look, you come on my Discord server, you can come in and tell me about something weird going on in Europe, and I'll get all outraged for like 4 seconds, and then I'll calm right down because it's really none of my business at the end of the day. Europe's going to be in a big war anyway, probably sooner than anybody thinks. I just hope the US pulls their troops and equipment out first, but who knows? Could happen tomorrow at this rate. Who the hell knows what's going on over there? They don't, that's for sure. I just can't panic about it because it just isn't going to bother me. It's not going to impact me in that way. It's going to have an impact eventually. Everything does, but just like with the starving kids in Africa. I mean, we joke about this now, right? There's a whole generation who grew up with finish your food on your plate because there's starving kids in Africa. And, of course, the clever little rebel children like myself would say, well, you should send this to them because I ain't eating it. Right. That was a real thing. We have new problems now, for sure. And there are things to panic about because we're paying attention to the wrong things. I talk about this all the time. I think Jonathan Peugeot is right. The world is attention, or at least your world is attention. Therefore, what you pay attention to matters. Listen to the signal that is panic. Figure out the difference between legitimate panic, which tells you you're paying attention to the wrong thing or paying attention to the thing in the wrong way, and illegitimate panic, which says you have this weird panic response for no reason. And get help from others to do this. Ask people, hey, do you ever see me panic about something unnecessarily? And if so, for how badly and for how long? Can you remind me when I do it again? It won't work in the moment, but it will work over time. This is where people get massively confused now. It's such a video game mentality. Man, we expect to push the joystick up or hit the fire button and have something happen immediately. I am here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want people to change, it takes a very long time, and it takes a lot of what seem like fruitless attempts. But it works. But you have to have patience, and you have to have faith in the future change that will happen as a manifestation of your actions in the moment, which means someone has to not panic. Hopefully, it's you. All right. I'm going to go through the comments. I know I read a few. I know I didn't read them all. Anselman, in recent years, governments have taken advice from behavioral insight teams led by Marxists on how to ramp up people who get conformity using mass social media. Yeah, but it doesn't work, so I wouldn't worry about it. Or at least it doesn't work in the way they want. And to the extent that it does work, it doesn't work for very long. And there's nothing you can do about it. So who cares if that happens? That happens all the time. It's happened many times in history. This idea that behavioral science is new is so laughable. It's like, bro, I got history books. Let me tell you how this works. Go read them. This isn't new. What are you, high? You can't be that dumb. Do you realize that there are people out there who, maybe legitimately place the entire blame for the Revolutionary War in the colonies on Thomas Paine? Right? Or any number of people in France with printing presses? This is nonsense. You know how I know? Because it turns out if you actually study history at all, just a little bit, like a tiny bit of effort, guys, just a little bit, you find out lots of people were doing that to conflicting ends. Why did one thing stick and one thing didn't stick? Interesting. This is the hard question that nobody wants to address because it's too hard. But that's the more interesting and the only relevant question is, why do some things stick at the expense of actually everything else? Ixnon, see the Bob Newhart Stop It sketch. I vaguely remember that, although not well enough to comment. Anselman, is Weinstein going to take telephone hygiene operatives with him to Mars? Weinstein is going to the nearest planet 4 light years away. The way he's convincing you to do that is he thinks he knows why Elon Musk is popular with his message to go to Mars, and he's just one-upping him because he's a big brain. He's a big something anyway. I'll give him that. Ixnon says the sky is falling. In fact, it is. Anselman, I've been unjustly associated with narcissists and haters. I don't know anything about that. Reputational attack. We're living in a feminized community, right? With a bunch of feminized people who are perfectly male-born adults and refuse to be manly and won't push back on anything ever. And therefore, even if you don't encourage it, the fact that you allow it and don't push back on it is a powerful signal to continue, right? And that's it. Anselman, strictly speaking, panic is irrational fear. Yeah. To be distinguished from urgent, rational fear leading to action. Right. Well, yeah. I mean, again, it's all about knowing what's triggering you and what to do about that trigger. And that's the problem. And so when Noah was moved by fear to spend considerable time building the ark. Maybe he was moved by fear. I don't know. I wasn't there. I didn't talk to him. Answer: whereas many people were deliberately panicked by government to do irrational things within living memory. Yeah, well, look, you know when else that happened? Every other decade I've been alive. Every other decade, seriously. Every other decade that happened. It happens all the governments do this constantly. There's no time period in history that hasn't happened. None. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Because the difference is nobody's doing anything about bad behavior. That's really what we're dealing with here. Nobody's doing anything about bad behavior. Now, bad behavior could be incompetent people doing incompetent things. That's still bad behavior. Right? Incompetence is bad behavior. You can't say, oh, well, it's incompetence, so it shouldn't be punished. No, I'm a pragmatist and a realist. You punish things according to the harm they cause, period, end of statement. You don't use any other metric because there's no other possible metric that you could use. Everything else is an imagination. Now, how you implement that, how you implement the fix is a whole different story. But you can't tell me that you're going to go ahead and punish somebody who knowingly steals the house of an old lady the same as you're going to punish somebody who buys the house of an old lady having stolen it without knowing it. You can't tell me that. I'm not going to believe you. I'm going to believe you're a liar or an evil person, because those are the only two options I know of. There could be a third option. You could be really stupid. Still not going to believe you under any three of those circumstances. And I'm going to act accordingly. And I'm not weak. So you're not going to like my action one little bit. Because that's the kind of case where you go, you know what? You're both in this together now. Even if you weren't complicit in the crime, you're going to be complicit in the punishment. Right. And that's how you mitigate punishment for others. Right? You say, oh, this person did this. Who else was involved? Oh, okay. Well, I think they probably weren't 100% to blame. So we'll give them 60% of the punishment. This other person, 40%. That's how you do it. You don't say, oh, 100% of the punishment can't be meted out, because intent, which you can never determine or rarely determine, except in very strict circumstances, which, by the way, is very, very easy to do. Just nobody ever does the work. And that's the problem. T. Sanders. McLuhan interestingly said that media is, as it were, an extension of your nervous system. That seems a bit optimistic. Probably relevant to why it contributed to much of crippling anxiety of younger people are having nowadays. Well, again, I mean, they're just suffering from signal overload. And that's why I don't think, Ron, that panic is fear. I think that panic is a signal. It can result in fear, or it can result in calm, right? Sometimes you can calm yourself down about things you really should panic about because they're super important. But most of the time when people panic, they're just totally misdirected from what they need to do next, and they're not getting the work done that needs to be done. So linking these concepts together is really destroying the world. Like, I mean that technically. Flattening the world like this and saying, well, this word really means that. Or linking words in ways they're not necessarily linked. It's like panic can result in fear, or it can result in too much calm. Right? But more often, panic results in total random behavior. That's really what panic is to most people, is people are behaving completely irrationally, and that they can't be made to be rational for a while. That's usually what people are describing when they're talking about panic. And that sense of crippling fear that causes panic, because fear causes panic more often than not, maybe that's legitimate. Maybe you should be afraid. If you're in a dark alley and a huge guy shows up and he doesn't look happy, fear is probably the appropriate response. It's going to give you the adrenaline to get the hell out of that situation as safely as you can. May not be safe, very safe, but it'll be safer than without it. And we're all about best possible answers and not perfect possible answers, because I don't believe in perfect answers, because I'm a pragmatist and a realist. All right. If you want to talk more about panic or anything else that isn't too personal and weird, then please, by all means, join me here. I shall paste the link on Navigating Patterns YouTube channel, since that is the only place I have access to do so. Feel free to jump in. In the meantime, I'm going to drink some water, because water. I don't want to panic because of an increase in anxiety because I don't have enough to drink. And yeah, look, if your physical body is not in good shape because you didn't drink enough, because that happens, you're more prone to panic. Don't be more prone to panic. Be less prone to panic. Anselman, it is said that panic derives from the god Pan, said to be the source of irrational fear. Yet I don't. How well do you know your pagan gods, my friend? Because panic is derived from Pan, but not from fear part of Pan. Pan pretty much runs around hedonistically, and that's more what panic is actually related to. So I understand the oversimplification and flattening and where it came from. Also evil, but that's just me. And this is the problem. Like we try to make things, we'll say, more digestible for people. And sometimes you just need to leave it as forbidden knowledge because they can't handle it. And telling people things causes panic. You want to reduce panic? More forbidden knowledge. Yeah, that's a terrible answer. I know, but also 100% provably true. Like super important too. If you keep flooding people with knowledge, if you keep flooding people with information that they can't process, if you keep doing this, you're just going to get more panic. And when people are panicking, it's like herding cats, except those cats can be weaponized as a very blunt instrument. Granted, I mean, the French Revolution was a pretty blunt instrument, but that was one of the problems. Handsome. And I hear Pan like smoking pipes. Yeah, there's a lot of smoke associated with Pan. Weird, huh? I wonder what smoke would cause if you suddenly couldn't see as well and it got foggy. That's why Pan is associated with panic. It's very little to do with fear. I don't actually believe that Pan himself or herself, however you want to deal with that problem, was a fearful sort of a critter. It was more hedonistic. And I think if you look around, you're going to see a lot of people deal with panic by getting hedonistic. And then they will call it stress relief. Well, I got news for you. While that may be true in a way, that ain't what's going on. And it certainly does alleviate panic to do any number of hedonistic things in the moment. It's not false. It's not entirely wrong. It is also not the correct response because, again, maybe you should panic and just pay the damn bill. Right? Or maybe you should figure out how to stop irrationally panicking over something that was learned and is not relevant anymore. Or maybe it was never relevant at all. OCD does that, right? Like you get mud or something on your hands and then you'll wash your hands forever. That's a panic, right? That's a form of panic, that incessant hand washing. But if you learn to weaponize your OCD and wield it as a force in the world, then you have a superpower. Highly recommend. I did. It's fantastic. Fantastic. You can do all kinds of things no one else can do. You want to do testing or validation of literally anything? Weaponized OCD. Whew. blow everybody else away. You can do things faster, do them more efficiently, and you can do a much, much better job with higher accuracy and precision. It's phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Look, don't panic. And a little silence. Did you hear that Alanis Morissette song? She stops. Just think about your bills, your ex. Yeah. What'd you think about? Did you panic? Did you panic? Ixnay. Forbidden knowledge causes panic, aka Lovecraft. Yeah. Well, exposure to forbidden knowledge. Yeah. Lovecraft is interestingly all about forbidden knowledge, right? Like his whole thing is what happens when you learn about something that was always there, but you just found out about it yesterday. Right. And then there's different types of people because they don't all lose their minds, right? But most of them do. No one wants to jump in and say hi. Very depressing. Might make me panic. But it's important not to panic because you should have your Sam Pell. And then you can't panic with Sam Pell because it's very refreshing. Delicious. I gotta say, this weird dandelion root tea with, I think it's got nutmeg and like 3 other freaking nuts in it. It's delicious. I have no idea where it comes from because I did not have to buy it. So, some store somewhere, I can't remember the name of the product. I just open it up and make my tea. And not panicking when everyone else is. Peterson talks about this. Total superpower. Get your panic under control. Definitely a good thing. Anselman. During the recent planned emic, you mean the fake news virus scam? I heard a young woman say to her mother repeatedly, "You've got to wash your hands." Yeah, people don't really understand how attractors work. So the world is laid out in an ordered fashion, whether you understand that or want to believe that or not. And what happens is certain orders are close to certain other orders. And so when you get in the orbit of an order, you can pick up another one next to it. And that's roughly how it works. Hanselman, Highland Springs, Scottish Sam Pell. Okay. I don't know. Does it have the same amount of lithium in it? Because that's why I drink mine. High amounts of mineral lithium. At least compared to other similar drinks. That's probably why Peterson likes it too. Yeah, I've been drinking it on and off for years and years. What I haven't found is any blood orange soda. I'll have to go back to World Market and find some blood orange soda. Hopefully they have some. They didn't last time I was there. The grocery stores around here were carrying it for a while and they stopped. I don't know what happened. I do miss my blood orange soda. Not all the time, but every once in a while I like some. I like some blood orange soda. European sodas are quite good actually because they're a lot lower in sugar. And I tell you, man, some people when they panic, they just lash out at everybody around them. So it looks like they're mean or angry or whatever, but actually they're just panicking. Stage fright, panic. And a lot of people get in a situation where they will panic. They just need controlled environments so they don't panic. It just hopefully the rest of the world can give them that, you know? Anselman. Badoit's a Belgian one, highly mineralized. Yeah, which minerals though? It kind of matters. I need my lithium. It keeps me stable. I had when I was young, when I was homeless. They put me in the system, as they say around here, or they used to say in New England. I met with this woman. She had to be 80. My God. And she was like, talked to me for about 20 minutes. And she goes, we need to put you on lithium. And I looked at her and I said, they haven't prescribed lithium in this country for anything in like 20 years. What are you talking about? I gotta go. And I took off. She's a crazy person. She didn't know I had read the DSM-3 cover to cover. So I don't know what the hell she was reading, but it wasn't any of the psychological textbooks of the time. That was pretty bad. Ixnon. Maybe not the rest of the world, but the world and around them. Yeah, well. Anselman, I recommend elderflower cordial in soda water or in tonic water. I don't know about that. What does it do? That's the question. Now I think I just need some actual detox because when I go outside and I do stuff, the odds that that will trigger something very, very bad are super high. And I've never been able to figure that out. It doesn't seem to be related to lymph nodes. I could be, but it doesn't seem to be. It seems to be related to something in the tissues that gets released, but I can't tell. I don't know. Someday I'll make it to a SIRS doctor and we'll find out if they know what's going on. They might know. They're pretty smart. The worst thing you do in a hospital is panic. They're used to it, but it's still not good for you. I don't panic. When I go into the hospital, I just become a completely different person. Actually, I become two people. The person inside me who's unbelievably angry and mean, I'm just and ready for action, like constant action, usually violence, because that's all I got. And the person that makes a connection with every single soul that comes within talking distance. I'm like a completely different animal, totally different animal. My brain is like pre-wired to make friends with everybody in a hospital. The minute I'm on a stretcher or whatever, like I am just trying to find some connection with everybody around me. It's really funny. I'm like, who the hell is this person? Oh, it's a total riot. But I don't panic. I do not panic. Tastes good and refreshing. I don't know. Is quinine good for your health? Man, my very eccentric friend, and this is his definition of eccentric. If you're crazy and you have money, they call you eccentric. And I'm like, yes, that is correct. That is correct. But he knows he's eccentric, which is it just cracks me up, his self-awareness sometimes. He swears by quinine. He's got like cases and cases and cases of quinine soda water. I don't, he says it helps with his gout or whatever. I don't know. I haven't looked into it that closely. I really should because there might be a there, but that's a lot of work to look into all this stuff. And I tell you, man, I did some research recently, actually this morning. This morning, I was very curious about something. I was like, hey, I wonder if there's an measurable effect from the Reformation on like warfare, like globally. So I went on to Gemini Pro, which I have a temporary subscription to because I bought an expensive Chromebook. And I have 2.5 Pro Research. And I brought that up and I said, from 1000 AD to the Reformation, what was war like, and contrast that with what war was like from the Reformation till today. Oh my God, what a conclusion. Like, totally unexpected. Two roughly equal time periods, right? Um, it wrote a whole thesis. It was unbelievable. I posted it on the Mark of Wisdom Discord server. You can go look at it there if you're so inclined. It was very long. It was several pages. I forget how many, like 50 or 60 or something. It was a lot of pages. I haven't even read the whole thing. I read the thesis and I went, well, I mean, in the back of my head, that's sort of kind of where I was going, but not even I was going to go that far with it. And like Google just came up with this by itself. And I was like, okay, then I guess there's a there for sure. Great AI stuff. It was pretty interesting. It was pretty interesting. It's not according to science. Everything is and isn't good for you. Well, I don't use science, but yeah. I haven't read that yet. I probably will. Dude, you would love that. It is interesting. I mean, let me just say it doesn't paint the Protestant Reformation in a good light. I guess instead of the Enlightenment, they'll start to blame the printing press or something. I don't know. Seems to be the shtick, though. They've got to have a scapegoat, so they're always scapegoating something. And this has nothing to do whatsoever with our catastrophic Reformation, even though it definitely cannot be anything else. Castle, don't panic, my friend. You're live.
I am calm and collected.
Excellent. You almost always are, I think.
Yeah.
I think knowing a tiny smattering of your history, which is already horrifying to me, I can see why. Otherwise, you wouldn't have survived for sure.
Yeah. If you knew a tiny smattering of the week I had.
By history, do you mean this week?
Yeah, like since Wednesday, or?
Are we talking about Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday?
Yeah. Actually, no joke. I'm not going to go into it. But for your sake.
But no, that.
Yeah. But, it ended well, I think. I mean, there's still time left, but the...
Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm not going to
panic. Don't panic. There's still time left for more panic.
Yeah. But no, but things are going pretty well. They are now, as of, what time is it? Yeah, as of like 4 hours and 12 minutes ago, things are pretty good. So that's been nice. And I mean, I don't want to like completely switch topics or anything like that, but we are making major progress with the book project, so I'm very happy about that. I'm looking forward to us kind of reviewing some stuff and everything, but yeah, it's looking really good. I'm very happy with it. I actually finished reading what you wrote, and
wow.
So that, because I was slowly, like I was trying to like edit along with the experience, and just kind of like follow the tracks on there. I'm still gonna read it once it's formatted to make sure that like the user experience is good. But yeah, no, I'm very happy with it, and I think that's something also that's kind of helped me too, is having those goals in the distance, and things that is that you can actually see that there are results happening, and you talked in the intro there about how, you can tell if the thing is helping your panic or, whatever the anxiety level is. Maybe you're not yet at anxiety, but there's something that becomes anxiety at a certain point. And if your action is reducing that, then it's good. And if it's not, then that's resulting in, or at least contributing to panic. And for, a lot of the time I have certain things where I'm like, I'm right on the edge, and it's just like, let me do as many of these actions that are going to bring me just below that line. And I am like right below the line. And then I don't go over it, but it's like, my goodness, the amount of work that it takes to kind of do that. But working on this book has actually been one of those things that's like, this is really nice. So
yeah, that's something I didn't really cover very well, which is one way to deal with anxiety or people who are anxious is to give them future goals or keep them busy in general.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you go work on this?
Yeah.
Because you're manipulating attention for people. That's
Yeah.
roughly what you're trying to do. And so if you can give people things to do, preferably things where they're moving and they're involved and they're outdoors,
Yeah.
that is like super helpful.
Do you remember the old Bill Cosby stand up where they're talking about like the guy that's trying to help, and they send him on the fool's errand to get hot water, and they're just like, oh yeah, that they're trying to deliver a baby, and he's just like, oh, it's just like, get us some hot water, like that's what you got to do. It's like, oh, where do I get that? I don't know, just figure it out, and
Right.
but it's like, but he's the one that's panicking, so it's like, yeah, just give him, it like a fool's errand is not actually necessarily like a bad thing. Like you're
Right. A
not just
fool's
throwing
errand
out
is not a
the
bad thing. It's an errand to keep a fool busy,
yeah,
to keep the
yeah,
fooliness out. Right.
yeah,
Right.
and and to your earlier point about you know an otherwise competent person who's panicking is no longer competent. So you could have, and like I've seen this plenty of times, where
I
there are
bet you
people who
have.
are like, there is a person that is a very skilled tradesman in some sort of field, and then something happens, and it's just like, well, like that doesn't help you when you're sliding on ice, or if you're dealing with, like a busted pipe or something like that. Like that, all of those skills, it's like, yeah, you might be really, really competent if you're like at the top of the hierarchy in an office environment or something like that. But when something breaks in the house, it's like, is it still the case?
Right.
And
Right.
also being able to rely on other people. Like I thought of, and sometimes in the panic you call the wrong person, but maybe the fact that you reached for someone to assist you was enough. So I
Right.
remember there was a time when I was dispatching for that college, and and in the middle of the night, during my late shift, I get a call from an alumnus. Calls the police department for his old college that he graduated from like a year or two ago, and he called because his toilet was flooding. And so he was like, I don't know what to do. He was like, the first thing I thought was to call you guys. And it was like, yeah, the way that these students call us all the time. At the time, it was like, yeah, that doesn't surprise me. But also, I was able to like, walk him through. I was able to ask some questions, and then I like pulled up Google to make sure that I was not telling him the wrong thing for what he was dealing with. And then like we figured it out, But it was like he needed someone to tell him to get towels. Like that was like he was at that stage where he
Right.
panicked much, and there was so much water he hadn't even thought like, oh, get a towel. Like I'm in the bathroom right now, and I need to like stop the water from getting to the carpet in the other room.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
but it's helpful, I mean, sometimes like just that little bit of distributed cognition is like just enough when you're just past that line. It's like maybe you don't actually need that much. Like maybe, you know, before things break, you can have those actions that keep you below the line. But if you are past that, like
Right.
the other person doesn't have to be that much better off than you, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you see the research paper that Google threw
Oh
up?
my goodness, it was so many words, but I read I
Thesis?
skimmed it. I skimmed the thing. I saw the intro, and then I saw the conclusion and whatever the thing was after the conclusion. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I want to answer Anselman's question a little bit if I can. Yeah. Basically, one of the interesting things that he did say that I read that I was like, oh, yeah, that's true. It said feudalism is decentralized government, is a decentralized form of government. And I was like, yes, it is. People
Mhm.
don't realize that because they don't. People are
yeah,
really dumb. They can't think correctly at all about anything, especially now. It's gotten worse. Um, so basically, the spread of war used to be contained to your local area because it was a dispute between two noble people with a relatively small population under their control.
yeah,
And it went to this idea of nation, which, as near as I can tell, is a Napoleonic idea, basically. Um, yes, the Protestants stole everything from the Catholics, but the barbarism, more Protestants are killed by other Protestants than by an order of magnitude or two than are killed by Catholics. So yeah, the barbarism continues. It's just the Catholics The Catholics went for idealism over a few more witch burnings, which might have solved way more problems.
Hmm.
Yeah, and I think that when you don't panic appropriately, you get a splitting, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of the critique of Luther was, you should have seen the war coming, dumbass. And he did take that very seriously later in life, and he confessed and repented and said, "I wish I hadn't done any of it." And yep,
Good.
that was correct. So maybe he snuck in, but everyone after him didn't. So,
There's yeah.
all
There,
right, guys, you're not getting in.
it's good to hear because I worried about good old Luther. Hopefully, yeah, hopefully that
He
worked out.
confessed and repented, and
Yeah.
he was a big believer in Mary, much like Calvin. They're probably both in, and everybody that
Yeah.
claims to follow them has no hope or prayer at all. So
That's
sucks
that's
to be
the
them, I guess.
that's the worry, man. Because it's just like that's like they had the loophole in justice, right? And it's like that's
Right,
kind of the main
right.
thing where it's like, well, if you're friends with the mother of the judge, but if you throw away that advantage,
It's weird to me that anybody would classify the Catholics as the barbarians when the Protestants have churches and strip malls in the United States. Just you want
yeah,
barbarism? You know what the problem is? Consumerism. I'm like, have you seen the shack down the street they call a
uh,
church?
it just I don't know. I
Talk
try
about
not to think about it.
consumerism. But you know what? You know what occurred to me the other day, Castle? Like,
But,
because I'm really slow sometimes. Really slow. One of the reasons why like colleges are big down here, and college football and sports teams and stuff, but colleges in particular. So like in South Carolina, there's two big colleges. There's Clemson, which is in the northwest corner of the state. It's about as far from here as you can get. It's 3.5 hours or something. And then
yeah,
there's USC, right, which is 20 miles from my house. It's downtown Columbia.
yeah,
Um, and so yeah, they've got whole families that are split and rivalries and all this. And I'm like, well, of course, because that's higher and more uniting at a cultural level than the churches around here, because there's 63,000 Baptist denominations per square mile. It's bad.
my
So, dude,
goodness.
there's so many. I'm like, well, I never noticed like ever in my whole life, right? Like this is all new to me. I'm like, oh my god, these guys fight with these guys, and they're all Baptists. What the hell are they fighting about? But they find a way. They find something
Yeah.
to, but and it's bad too. Like, but they can all unite under their school, and I'm like, oh man, that's such an interesting way to see the depth of the hierarchy is going to happen, guys. You can flatten all day long, but the depth of the hierarchy is going to show up in weird ways, and maybe
Yeah.
some of those ways are more healthy or something. But
Yeah,
it's
that yeah.
yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah, I'm completely estranged from my 100% Baptist paternal side of my family, and that was their decision at my birth, which was just like fascinating. But it's just
How?
well, it was 99%, but
That's
even
amazing. I
still,
love it.
yeah, no,
I
it's
love it.
absolutely fascinating. Now, the interesting thing though is that of all of the groups, even though I've been completely alienated by my own family of Baptists, I actually I don't hold it against them as much as I do other denominations. But the
Good.
yeah, there's no, I'm not going to say no hard feelings, but I'm not holding it against them.
There you
Uh,
go.
so
That's funny.
yeah, it's interesting, but it's too bad. I mean, I had a realization. I don't even know if I want to drop it recently, but I saw just this whole thing of like self-identifying and stuff, where like people self-identify as all these random things, and like I started seeing a bunch of links to the fact of like just being able to say things and just like say I am this, or like, oh, we're part of a thing. I don't know. I started seeing a bunch of links there, and I'm just like, I actually don't want to go down that rabbit hole because I'm actually horrified of what I'm probably going to wind up finding. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably all linked to the war thing. But when I think of like the feudalism stuff, That was one of the interesting takeaways that I had from the document, that like the parts that I read, was this whole thing of like, yeah, you're just gonna have like a few families of a particular class, and then they're gonna fight it out, you know.
Yep.
And it's
Yep.
probably they're probably not gonna have that many people so much lower class wise that are also fighting, because like maybe you
Right.
have like a few,
Someone's got
but
to feed them. Like,
right,
like you can't conscript all your farmers. Like that doesn't
right.
work.
Yeah, exactly. And especially like if this is like an ongoing, like some of those families have like blood feuds, you know? And it's
Hmm.
like that's a protracted war. Like you read
Yep.
any of Sun Tzu and it's just like, no, you were starving in a month. Like if you're out doing
Right.
that.
Right.
It's either that or you're doing like the mafia family thing where it's like, well, you just kind of like shoot up their restaurant, you know, and then go back to doing normal business and
Yep.
everything. But otherwise, like if you're actually out there fighting them and you have to like set camp in order to do that, and then plus it's like, well, you're out in a field and it's like 50 on 50 or something like that. Like it's not actually that impressive, you know?
Yeah.
So you're not rallying for like some enormous cause or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know.
There aren't large armies being fielded on a regular basis. They're not being treated as um, sort of equal participants in the war with equal stakes
Yeah.
until the Reformation. And then because a bunch of boundaries are broken and a bunch of things are and there's no mitigating force anymore, right? Like once you break Christendom apart, all kinds of weird things start happening almost immediately. And people don't recognize them because in the beginning people don't know what to make of them. But even like with self-naming, so today there was a wonderful live stream that happens every Friday. And if you read the name of the live stream on its normal channel, it's named, whatever, like not great. But its name on the simulcast channel is perfectly accurate.
Hmm.
I would say obviously bad. But maybe cult practices are good in some alternate universe that we're never going to live in. But self-naming works. Like ultimately, self-naming, you will reveal yourself, and by the time you do, that self will not be good explicitly.
Yeah.
So, fair enough. Also, are you sure you want more evil? Because that's how you get more evil. I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like people usually, and I don't know if you've probably talked about this before, but I know it's like it's a kind of well known concept that, you know, and it's where like the first impression is usually the correct one type of thing, where it's like, well, a lot of times people will actually tell you what they're up to, and
Yep.
it's
Yep.
like you just listen to them and just say, hey, what are you
Yep.
about? And like they'll actually tell you what they're about. Even like they can't,
Yeah.
you know, they can't help but tell you even if they're trying to hide it a lot of times. Like there's that kind of
Right.
like, you know, the
They
serial
always
killer goes
reveal.
back to the scene of the crime type of thing, where it's just like they kind of want, you know, there's some sort of thing where it's just they can't help but kind of tell the truth or signal it in some sort of way, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird that it works that way and that it works that well, but it does. And so my tweet earlier today was, when we look for rather than look at, we miss evil. It completely passes us by. Of course, you can look for, you can look away, or you can look at. Avoidance versus expectation versus observation. Observation is a neutral state where you don't have an expectation or you have a low expectation. And that was why my prompt for that AI was very low expectation. I'm like, I don't know if there's any impact at all. Like I didn't, it's just sort of like Reformation bad. Sure, absolutely. There's no real way around that. They're all blaming the Enlightenment for a reason. They must know they're guilty. Right. And then it's like, okay, fair. But what does that mean? I don't exactly know. But
Hmm.
I'm curious if Ixnon for me, that was the jump the shark live stream, because it for me it just strayed straight into exactly what I predicted years ago. Like estuary is full of pregnant sharks, and eventually that's going to stray into evil, and that today is definitely, it's like, wow. I don't even think they knew what they were saying. Like, I'm like, are you really? Is this that's like this is what you're good? Really? This is how you're gonna talk? Okay. I mean, I guess.
It's fascinating too, because like a lot of times the baby sharks will even eat each other before they're born and
That's
stuff. Like
right.
it's not a good image.
No, people don't. They really. So it happens when you get people who don't know what they're talking about, making stuff up and trying to magic things into the world. And it's just like, I don't think you should be messing with that stuff, because I don't think you know what you're doing. And there's a reason there's things like Kabbalah out there, not saying they're good, but also at least they had a system. It's weird in an age where everyone's talking about a magical system. Those same people are trying to just use magical words or cast the world as though it's magical words. And I'm like, do you not understand what magical system means? Because they don't. I'm like, it means it's not just the words, dummy.
Yeah.
But when you use the words to move attention, what happens? Something hijacks it every single freaking time.
Yeah. I was reading an excerpt of this really smart book. You might have heard of it. That there was this thing about like being a reaction to the information that you're taking in, and it's like, yeah, that is absolutely, like, it really is kind of terrifying. Like I made the comment like a week or two back, that thing of like the people that everything has to be a joke, and then eventually it's like you kind of become a joke in a sense. But then also it's like you can become panic incarnate, like it can come a point where you're only expressing panic, and not actually, like, all of your other externalities wind up just serving that one function.
Right.
But yeah, the same sort of thing, like there's so many degrees of it, but you can, if you just start, like, this is also where the abuse of the language comes in too, where it's like, if people don't know what you're talking about, if you can't agree on definitions, then like it's just going to be whatever. It's like, you're going to democratize the definitions of words. It's terrible.
Right. Or if you use a communications medium and then you call it a culture, and you go, meme culture, and I'm like, that's a communications medium, and it can't become or be or manifest a culture. But I'm glad you think so. Hold on, I need a match and some gasoline. I'll be right with you. Well, what else am I going to do? Like, seriously, what else am I going to do? Like, this is super dangerous. And like, it's making everything worse, and everything keeps getting worse. Everyone's going, well, I don't know what it is. Have you seen internet culture lately? And I'm like, you are the problem. Like, actually you, or Anselman. Much of those little cults is Kabbalist. Yes. Well, I mean, if you're going to actually use the word cult to describe your thing that you're doing that looks like a seance, then I guess I'm proven right again. Thanks. I guess I don't like that. But, oh my God. I don't know if you saw my, did you read the revelation I put in the book? What was it, this morning, around implementation, in the implementation chapter?
At the top?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just finished editing it right before I sent you the message. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great. Yeah. No, that was literally. So I'm last night we're at the Silicon Swamp event. Silicon Swamp's wonderful, and this guy's giving this presentation. Very much could not possibly disagree more with everything he's saying. By the way, whatever. I get it. Some retard wrote a book, and I'm like, oh my God. The death of architecture and software is not a good thing. I don't know why everybody's cheering it. But he's talking about this, and then I have this insight on implementation. And so I switch tabs. I open up the Google Doc. He's still talking. I'm like, make note to myself. And then I put a task on my phone while he's talking. Yeah. Remember to fill this in. And then I just did it. So I was like, oh, thank goodness. That was part of the reason why notes for this monologue were not going to happen. It wasn't the only reason. It wasn't even the best, but it was like, nah, we're gonna be out of brain space today for sure. We're gonna have to do the whole thing where we just kind of wing it, which we've done before, but
Yeah.
you don't want to be relying on that, like, I mean, it's great and all, but if you get up there and you got nothing, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah. No, but I gotta say, I mean, in many ways, that last chapter was a lot like a springboard for this live stream in a certain sense. Like, it wasn't about panic, but
Right.
like,
Right, it was.
not doing what is in the subject of that chapter results in panic. So
Exactly. Well, exactly. I mean, the more I think about it, the more I go, who thought that up? That's rather brilliant. And then I have to go, I think it was actually me. Oh, weird.
yeah,
I don't know what's up with that.
I
No,
actually had the explicit thought while I was editing that chapter was I had already read and edited all of the other chapters, right? And I reached like this chapter and I was like, you know what, maybe this guy actually can write.
We'll see. We'll see if because there's people don't understand, right? Writing is very hierarchical, multi-layered.
Yeah.
And if you do it correctly and not overdo it like Burgess did in Clockwork Orange, God, what a ridiculous book. There's a signal that unfolds from the chapters, like from the ordering of and the sequencing of the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's really good, and I don't know if we'll reach this level, but God willing, sort of a thing, right? Then the nature of the writing actually changes as that goes on. And that's what facilitates the transformation in the reader to allow them to get something out of the book. And then that allows the book to last through time.
So when I was talking to someone about this book, who I plan on giving, like when I get the sample copies, I'm going to give this copy to this woman. Because she's the type of person that would absolutely implement. She actually explicitly said, yes, I want it. Yes, I want to use this.
I'll give her one, yeah.
Yeah. And she's in charge of a lot of stuff, like multiple communities and stuff, and like high-ranking person. But I was telling her about it, and it's funny because when I was describing it to her on Tuesday evening, I actually described it in that way. So I actually said it starts out in a particular way, and then it starts to, it's not that it necessarily becomes so much less technical. Like, it's not super, super technical, but there is something about, like, it appeals in the very beginning to a very intellectual type that really wants the verbose, sort of things. And, like, it winds up becoming a lot more demonstrative as you get through. And I was seeing this a lot in editing the last chapter, and that was where I had that thing where I was like, you know what, like all of this really did start kind of coming through, and it's almost like when you see people do like layers of hair and stuff where it's like, what are they doing? And then you see it all kind of fall down, and I was like, oh, there it is. That's right. There it is. So yeah.
Well, and then hopefully the end was like the coup de grace, right? Because I was like, the coup de grace. Bang! We'll see if it works.
I saw it. I was like, wow, he actually ended it that way. Amazing. And
I psyoped your sorry little ass. Yes, I did.
But the thing is I knew that it was like I knew that was kind of in the background, but I didn't know that you would actually just be like, there it is.
This is the funny part, right? Because I just did this video. Did you see my video on the Sabine Hassenfelder?
Not yet. Thing? I actually I deliberately put that on hold for next week so that I could finish editing today.
Good idea. Good idea.
Yeah.
But like the one of the questions I keep asking there is, when is he going to answer the title of the video? Right. And so one of the things I did in the book is I'm just like, we're just ignoring the title of the book until the end, effectively. And then it's too late. You've already got it, and you're like, "What happened?" Yeah, that was.
Did you see?
I don't
want to
say it wasn't planned, as in I wrote out an outline, and it wasn't planned in that way. It's just that I'm a really good writer, and I know I'm a really good writer, and I have a method, and I know that method is pretty sound. And thankfully it worked. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I'll have to, when we do our meeting, I'll have to discuss with you what you think of, you know, I kind of, I mean, just in the editing process and everything, like it's all
Hmm.
there, but I reordered some of the sentences and everything so that it could
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of
that's
fall
fine.
in that way. But I'm
Well, I know I
very
screwed
happy
up
with it.
some of them. So yeah. Yeah, I
Like, but
there were a few things I went through it and I'm like, Castle's gonna fix this because this is
yeah,
not. And
but
I'm gonna
yeah,
keep chugging. So I'm like, well,
yeah.
this is
That was fine. There were some parts where I flat out removed sections and then like took pieces and then put them in in the sections that I knew that they were going to like, you know, there would be like a subchapter and then there would be
mm,
like an entire
yep.
paragraph and I would realize no, I need to harvest this and put this in different parts of the same subchapter because they make the other sentences so much better if I take this half of this
Yeah,
sentence
yeah,
and then
yeah,
slap it in the one that sounds like this one. And but it all worked out.
yeah.
I mean, so
Well, and that's the other thing, right? Like when you're able to set up the writing style so that your editor can do that stuff for
yeah,
you, it's so much better.
yeah.
Like that's when you know you actually have a structured text that is going to resonate with a reader. Now, how many
Mhm.
readers? That's a different whole. That
We'll
has
see.
nothing to do with it. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a wait and see thing, right? There's always an audience for a book somewhere. The question is how big an audience. I have no
yeah.
idea.
And how do you find
I
them?
really
Yeah,
have no clue.
yeah. There is man. There's a book recently that I've kind of been crawling through by St. Louis de Montfort, and it was literally buried. I don't know if it was underground or if it was in like a box inside like a building, like under the floorboards or something like that. It was actually buried for like 75 years. And in the book, he said this is going to happen. And like he wasn't the one that buried it. He was like, yeah, this you're not gonna be able to find this book for a long time, but eventually it's going to be pretty popular. And now like millions of people have gotten it and everything. But that was like actually really recent, like within like the last few decades or something like that. And
Wow.
this was from like the 1700s or something. But like, yeah, it's that type of stuff. And it's like, well, okay, like you can't actually. Thankfully, there's nothing in this book that actually says this is going to take 75 years for it to take off. But
No,
the yeah, we'll have to. I'll have to double check with Control F and make sure that that isn't in there. But
it's
the
not in there.
yeah, but otherwise, like I've got a good feeling. A few people are gonna, you know, a few people I know are for sure gonna find this useful, and then we'll see how it's possible to promote from there.
Yeah, no, it's
So
great. I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm glad it's out of my head mostly.
yeah,
So I'm liking this little feedback. This is good. So I like that Bruce had some feedback and that in
yeah,
the first bit was helpful.
it
I
was
don't know if
useful.
he's gonna follow up on the second bit or not. But
Yeah, I left it there just in case, but I do have a feeling that in this last chapter, even though it's maybe not explicitly answering his question word for word, I think it does kind of
yeah,
address those concerns. So, I mean, we'll have to let him read it. But my hope is to have this ideally after we discuss and review and everything like that. I'd like to have it ready, if we can, by the end of next week, because I've got that meeting with the guy officially scheduled for Wednesday to discuss paper and bindings and all that stuff. So I'll take some pictures and all that. And then he seems like a decent guy, so we'll probably hang out and have coffee afterwards or whatever. But yeah, I was just looking at that, and I got to get the other book that I'm working on. But thankfully, I was able to negotiate a launch date for like the end of June for that, so that actually
Hmm.
saves a bunch of time and money for me right now.
Oh,
Um,
good.
so that'll be good, and that way I can focus on this, get it done. I'll present the two ideas and like research all the stuff at the guy's office that one time, and then we'll just do one after another. This will be the May print, and then the other one will be the June print, and then I'm done.
Awesome.
So that'll be fun.
Can't wait.
Yeah,
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
yeah, that
Great.
is good. So
Great. It's great. No, it's not good. It's great. Like this is
yeah,
great. Like this is
it
good
is
progress. And yeah, I'm dreading this not chapter thing, but we'll get it done.
not
And
chapter.
yeah, figuring out which chapters go with which knots. That's
Oh
yeah.
no, it shouldn't be that hard. Like I'm
No,
thinking
it's
even
ju-
just yeah.
well, I mean, it's not causing me panic, but I
No,
am
yeah,
dreading it. I'm
yeah,
like, well, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I knew it would probably come down to that a little bit, where I was just like, but at the same time, we could probably just run off of like the names of them or something or what they do. I
Yeah,
mean,
we might
that's the
we might have
problem.
to yeah, we might have to grab all the names and do it that way too. I don't think so though. I think we can just match them up by look and feel or something. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it'll be fine.
Did you ever see the old Monty Python TV show? And they had like
Some of it.
they had like this one really stupid episode where they kept coming back to showing the larch tree, and it was just like it's just a type of tree called a larch, and they were doing it like it was like a class or something. As they go, they're like, "Oh, we're going to discuss trees," and then all they did was they just showed you the larch over and over again, and then just said it as if they were giving you information. It was really stupid, but the funny thing is when I started testing the chapters and like doing the formatting with the image, I only did the one non,
Image. Yeah, yeah.
and then I put it as just set image at the start of every chapter, just as a thing. But then I started looking through it; it was the same knot over and over and over again. And I just saw it like that, where it's just like the larch. It's just like it's so stuff. I'm gonna delete all of them and start over because I have to anyway. We edited basically everything, so
Right. Right. Yeah, we
and
probably edited every chapter once. Yeah, at
we did.
least. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I needed to test out the features no matter what. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
it'll be
No,
faster.
the Monty Python TV show doesn't work because it's too topical to England at the time.
Mm,
So it doesn't. It's not as funny as the
yeah,
movies, which are for a much broader, more American audience.
yeah, that's true. But I don't know. Stuff like I mean, Mr. Bean still carries over pretty well.
Yeah, but that's yeah. But like England was really different in the '60s, and like so I've been
Mm,
rewatching the Avengers.
mm,
I love the Avengers so much, and just not just Diana Rigg in a
right.
leathery outfit, full body outfit. Although that alone would do it for me. I am French, but like that show is so funny and stupid and silly, and it's just so good. It's so good. It's so freaking good. And there's another. So there was, there was Kung Fu, right? Which was another
Yeah,
like that's a legendary
yeah, yeah.
show. I love that show. I grew up watching that show. That show was fantastic. But there was Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. I think it was in the '90s or something. Did you ever see
Is what?
that one?
No, I think I'm like halfway through season 2 or 3 of the main show. That's the one where he has like a protege or something like that, right?
His son,
Okay.
right? And it's modern day, which is even
Mm,
better, right?
interesting.
Well, there's one episode of Kung Fu Legend Continues, and what they basically do is, I think it's the son because he's like a police detective or something. It's not a terrible show or anything, but it's definitely like trying to be a little more campy off of Kung Fu
Mm,
while maintaining the, we'll say, the essence of the original, the respect of the original or something. But
yeah.
there's one episode where they go full on cray cray and they're just like, we're just gonna goof around. And so it's got Steed and it's got Control from the Equalizer, and it's got I can't remember the actor from Mission Impossible, and it's
Mm,
got like one other person from all the old spy movies, and they all get together and like do the thing, and it's just and I'm dying, right, because I know all those shows. So
yeah.
I'm like, I'm losing my mind. Like I'm utterly losing my mind. I'm completely out of it. I'm just so happy, and because I was such a big Kung Fu fan, I couldn't not watch The Legend Continues.
Yeah.
That's not a possible configuration of the universe. So, but then I see this, and I'm just like, oh, I know exactly what they're doing. It's a bit like watching Austin Powers: The Spy Who Shagged Me,
Mm.
without seeing the Avengers. Like, if you haven't seen the Avengers, the original Avengers, then you're missing more than half the jokes in that movie. Now, that movie's funny without those jokes. I get that. Although a lot of it's just toilet humor, which
Right.
it's not great. I mean, that's how they think of Americans. Just like, whatever, you guys suck. This is terrible people. But like, if you've seen the Avengers, man, Austin Powers is a lot funnier. It's a hell of a lot funny. But then you realize how bad the sequels are, because in America the sequels got better, but in the real world the sequels got worse.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things, and you don't know. Like, if you don't know, you don't know. Like, if you're not exposed to the right culture or whatever, then you don't know. There's an interesting thing too that I learned. This is so freaking fascinating. So Jesse, because he's Australian, and Australians, I'm convinced, are plants from our government now. See my latest video. He threw me down this stupid rabbit hole on James Bond, because he gave me that lovely book, which is just great. And then so I had to watch. I read the book, and then I had to rewatch the Bond movie. And then randomly, weirdly, several months later, maybe a month or two ago, actually, I run across this thing that's talking about the lost commentary on James Bond from the original James Bond crew. And the guy had this commentary, and it only shipped out in a few copies of like Laserdisc or some goofy, this is one of the early movie commentary things. And there's stuff in there like people arguing and talking about arguments on set, and it's just not what you expect from a commentary, right? So one of the clips I didn't hear the whole thing, but one of the clips the guy plays is basically his spat with Ian Fleming. And Fleming's being a prat, of course, because of course he was. And he's saying like, well, I don't know why you have to put this in the movie. I don't know why you have to put that in the movie. And he's like, I have more awards than he does. I don't know what the hell he's talking about. And I'm like, oh, wow, this makes everything make much more sense. Right? Because I was before that, I was sort of seeing it as like, and I had to ask one of my British friends about this. I'm like, was this made in Hollywood? Because it seems like we stole it from the UK and just screwed it up. No, they made it. The Brits made it. And I was like, whoa, that changes everything. What? That doesn't sound right at all. Like, what's going on? No. They made it because the lower class was basically trying to outdo the upper class. I mean, the guy actually said it in the commentary. I'm like, oh my God, like, what the hell? Right. And so it's a purely UK battle with the UK. It has nothing to do with America at all. It just happened to appeal to Americans because they were also doing that, but that wasn't their goal. Their goal was to one up the pretty prissy author, right? Like, I'll show him. I'll write a better movie than his book is. No one's read his book, right? And also you also see it, like, because like it's not that long ago, right? So I actually know something about it, even though I didn't kind of live in that age. It's not that long ago that books were for the upper class, and there were certain books that only the upper class ever read, like the classics. So you wouldn't expose somebody from the farm to Pride and Prejudice because they couldn't relate. But we have done that, and the world got worse. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a coincidence at this point, guys. I really don't. The more you look, the more you go, wait a minute. This looks like it was a really stupid thing to do.
Yeah. It's there's a bunch of those books that I myself have like picked up and then just kind of like, no. Like I can't. Like
Clockwork
and
Orange,
I'm sure they're good.
Dude, Clockwork Orange is such a complicated piece of garbage. It's not horrible literature, right? But it's so highbrow. And it's so meant to appeal to a certain caste of society, a certain class. There are so many things in there that only that class will ever understand. And the only reason why I know that is because, again, Jesse, who apparently just wants to psyop me successfully forever, sent me a copy, and then I had to read it. It's a short book anyway, but the copy is like the whole, like, I forget how many pages. It's like 35 pages of the book is like this commentary by a lit crit guy who was commenting on less on the book, which is totally correct, and more on the conditions of the author and the conditions under which not only the book was written, but also the movie was made.
Right. Yeah, I remember hearing that.
And it's like, oh my goodness. And then like everything makes sense. Like everything about the book makes sense. Everything about what happened makes sense. But he's talking in there about all these literary tricks that I had no chance. I never would have seen any of them. Any of them.
Yeah.
Right? Because, well, I avoid reading the classics on purpose. And that has served me well, by the way. Because I haven't been slapped by any of that stuff. But I've seen people who have. And it's very sad. It's very sad. NPC, you say. You keep saying that. Go ahead. You keep calling everybody else that. I'll wait here. But yeah, I mean, it's remarkable to me, like how many stupid freaking monkey tricks are that, again, they'd only appeal, and they would legitimately appeal to them, and then the writing is just it's so highbrow, and it's so like of a type, and like the invention of language, because that's heavily in Clockwork Orange. I mean, they're using words, slang words.
Yeah.
And it's so wrong, because it's like, when I read it, I was just like, oh my goodness, he's so misunderstanding how the world works in a particular way. And I'm like, of course he is, because he's from this upper class. And so he doesn't, of course, if you were up there, this is what you would see down below. Of course it is. It's just like, but he doesn't see it because he can't. He can't.
It's too bad.
Ixnon, how to recognize different types of trees from quite a long way away. Okay, Ixnon's seen it apparently.
Yeah.
Monty Python is also completely subversive. It is, but it's like Charles Dickens, right? We're still in the US trying to be nominally British, right? Because you can't just deny your heritage. Like, it doesn't work. Right. You still need grounding, and you need the grounding in the sky to contrast to sea. Like, you need three things. You need ground, sky, and observer, just to see the fourth thing. You just can't see the third thing. Despite what they tell you, there is no self-help. It doesn't exist. And so they're critiquing their society. We're reading the book in our society and using it to critique our society. And to be a little bit fair, one of the reasons the Industrial Revolution in the United States wasn't this dirty, disgusting mess, not to say stuff like that didn't happen, but my God, in England, if you read about what happened in England during their Industrial Revolution, it's like they were just killing people off left, right, and not on purpose, right? Just as a function of what they were doing. There was this whole series on bread making. I didn't see the whole thing, but I saw part of it. They were talking about the life of a bread maker in London, around that time. And I was like, what? And they all died because they were making bread on an industrial scale by hand.
Nice. Yeah.
But their exposure to wheat was such that it was all over, to the flour in particular. It was all over for them. Like, they were going to get all these horrible lung diseases and everything just because there was so much flour in the room, and there were tiny rooms.
Yeah. I mean,
and they're using that as a machine to power the Industrial Revolution. Like, it's bizarre.
Yeah, that's horrific. I mean, even people that like bake pizzas for a living in an open air environment still get baker's lung. Like, just to imagine those conditions, you'd be done within a few months probably.
A lot of them did, they didn't last very long. But like, the US benefited from that because we didn't make those mistakes because we read Charles Dickens, basically.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's that's how we have national parks, right? And that's why we don't have oil dripping on the ground everywhere, right? Yeah, it's remarkable to me. So when England is trying to flatten itself, that's Monty Python, right? When you start to see that, it's like, oh, right. Or Blake Seven, which is still the best sci-fi series of all time, obviously. You see the flattening, and it's like, oh, this is very, very bad, right? Because even just taking steps out of the hierarchy. But man, if you want to know about leadership, holy crap, watch Blake Seven. Oh my god. I don't understand Andrew Tate. You need to watch Blake Seven all the way through, my friend, and then you will understand. You will perfectly understand. It's right there. It's all right there. Yeah. Yeah. Might doesn't make right. Oh, really? Is that how that works? Really? Is that what you think, huh? Oh, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. The only reason that's true is because the might is being kind to you and you're being an ungrateful jerk off who's going to get crushed for it later. Don't do that. There's no reason to do that. We could all get along and not use might if you'd acknowledge it and be respectful, right? You're supposed to be respectful of the people who keep their swords sheathed. Otherwise, they will inherit the earth by unsheathing their swords. Nobody talks about that part, do they? Oh, but that's actually how it works. I'm just going to tell you right now. Sorry. History is very clear about this. Don't make that happen. Please, please don't.
Well, I gave you that. I mean, it wasn't on a stream, but I told that example of that Saint Nuno guy that he was, that he lived in a monastery and everything, but he wore chainmail under his habit, and that when the Spanish or the Muslims would come to invade Portugal, he would just go out there and start smashing. And it's just like that was, and people were happy to follow him to the point where he came out of retirement at one point, and the Muslims just completely canceled their entire invasion. It's just like because he was having too much fun. He took conditional vows at the monastery so that he could leave whenever he was called on to fight. And it's just like
People ignore that whole history. I was lamenting that earlier today. I'm like, back in the day, the bishops were generals and they led charges and cut people down in front. Whatever happened to? Right. And I think it is the recession of the Catholic Church, in particular Christendom as such, that really led to the weakness, and that, for a while it looked better, right? And it didn't get any better until the United States, and then everybody calmed down because they thought they had an option. But actually it just built up, and then the Great War happened, and it's like, well, first the French Revolution happened and nobody learned from that, so it's like, well, we're gonna send you another war, guys, because you're not getting it. And of course, we haven't learned from that war either. So I guess we're gonna have to do it again.
Yeah, it's tune in
Act
next
3
time.
coming soon.
My goodness. Yeah, I want to say you're wrong, but you're not. It's
sad. It just makes me cry, but I can't cry on camera, so I'll cry when
you've seen some of the stuff. Like, I try not to be doom and gloom and stuff, but like you've seen some of the stuff I've responded in the Discord recently, and it's just like I'm not like playing around here. But, but it is what it is. I mean, it's kind of at that point where it's like, well, farmers did fairly all right during the fall of Rome or whatever. So it's just like just keep making the bread.
Yeah, and just hope you're a farmer. Don't be too far up the chain. You should be all right.
Yeah.
You don't want to be creeping too close to the middle.
Yeah. My goodness. But we'll see how it goes.
Stay impoverished, my friend. Stay impoverished. They can't take anything from you if you don't have anything to give.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no falling if you just lie on the ground.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Oh yeah. I don't know. That's another thing that, I mean, I guess I don't want to just do it for the play on words, but like grounding really does help with the panic issue,
Right.
And I mean, also just the sheer amount of surface area. I mean, like I'm using the material example of a person actually lying down, but it's like you have that much stability of here's how much the entire surface area of what's touching the ground is what is grounded. There's a lot more stability there. Whereas, yeah, I mean, you take the example of like someone that's drunk or whatever, and then they go and you see them, they just like lie down on the ground, and it's like, well, you know what? They're better that way. Like right now, you know, it's just
That's
like
right.
it's a lot better than behind the
That's right.
wheel of a car, you know,
Oh man,
or at
one
the edge
night,
of some stairs.
yeah, it's amazing too because people panic, right? So like one night, my mother, she had this bed that was like 6 feet off the ground. I just hated that bed. I'm actually angry that I didn't get to burn it myself because I was going to. Oh yeah, Bonfire City. I was so angry. I was like, and I didn't get to do that. I'm pretty put out about that actually. But she tried to get in bed one night, and I was sleeping over the house. I had this place, but I was sleeping over there. It's only
Yeah.
about 3.5 miles away, but I was sleeping over there, and I had to work, but I couldn't really sleep because if she fell, I had to go help her.
Right.
So one night she fell, right? And she kept refusing to get like a life alert or have nurses or any of that nonsense. It's like, what are you doing? So she falls and she's on the floor, and I come racing across. This house is freaking huge. So I had to go racing across the house. Like this way, this way, this way, this way. Ah! Right. And she's trying to get up. And I'm like, Mom, don't get up. Just lay there. It'll be fine. Right. And I'm like, here's a towel under your head. It's fine. Just relax. Just chill out. Give yourself some time. But she was in a panic to get up and get in bed. And I'm like, why? You've already tried to get in bed and failed. It's okay. Like, I will get you in bed. Just sit here for a bit, so you're not getting up and flailing around and trying to get up on your own. Like, you need to calm down so that I can help you into bed, right? Don't help a drowning person who doesn't want to be saved. They'll take you down with them. Same thing. It's the exact same thing. So I got her to like calm down. I'm like, just chill out. And she calmed down. And then I was able to help her into bed later. It took like 5-10 minutes, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt like about 4 weeks, but it wasn't. I know it wasn't 4 weeks. It felt like 4 weeks. And it was like 2 a.m. or something. She was always getting up at 2 a.m. Yeah, she's just one of those. Yeah. Didn't figure that out till later. But like, yeah. She would go to bed early at like 9, and she'd wake up at like 1 or 2 a.m.
Oh yeah.
And that was not the same person. Like it was bad. That's really different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once she was in bed, it was fine. But like I was not sleeping that week, and I was working, and it was a mess. It was a mess. It was a big mess. That's okay. That place sucked to work for. So I don't care. Yeah. I gave them probably about $1 million of free consulting at that point, or consulting for 3 months of pay, which is just not a good deal for Mark, but whatever. I didn't care.
Yeah. Well,
so, yeah.
Yeah, it tends to go that way though. Like it really is like when it rains it pours type of thing. Like that spiral.
Oh yeah.
And it's not a lot of times it's interesting. It's like it's not even like when the chaos grows, it's not even necessarily like you can't point to a causal link between all the different stuff that just starts breaking. Like I started seeing this week where I was just like things started going bad at work, and that was the same day that like 3 people got sick. One of them had to go to jury duty and didn't tell us until the day of. And then like a bunch of other things broke. And like, we had sent people in person to like some faraway location. Everything was fine when they left the previous night. And then they find out in the morning, it's broken. You got to send them back. And then that was right when all of the work came in for the remote people, but then all those people were gone. Not all of them, but like more than half.
Yeah.
And it's just like that was, and I was like, I was actually in that mode where I was like, that I could have panicked about that actually. And, but the fact is, it's just like, well, okay, like I might just kind of complain interiorly for a little while, and then just kind of continue doing so, because it's only going to get worse if I stop taking action.
Good night, Hanselman. Good to see you, sir.
Have a good one. The thing of like helping other people, and the example of the lifeguard, I don't know if they still teach them to do this, but I know like they used to tell lifeguards to like punch the person in the nose if they're like fighting too much, and it's just like, hey, it's better to drag them back with a broken nose than both of you drowned, It's like they would, and that is absolutely something that would happen. Like sometimes you just have to do it.
Well, and that you want to cause them a different form of panic, right? You want to, again, panic's all about redirecting attention at some level. And whether or not you do that healthily or unhealthily matters. And the unhealthily can manifest in different ways. And this is, people like to oversimplify this stuff. And I'm like, you're better off realizing you can't and just coming up with a better plan where you're outsourcing this to other people because you're just trying to do too much. And that's why you're panicked all the time.
Yeah.
And I think partly the next where we got to work on the game, which actually a reasonable amount of progress on, but I think the next thing in parallel with the game is going to be my anxiety course because it's got to happen. I just got to buckle down, grab that research, and if I could stop getting stuck down a rabbit hole of my dream of having the computer organize all my files for me, then I was so close, and then it just all slipped away, and I'm like, why are these AI coding things degrading in front of my eyes? I'm like, well, I don't know if you saw Peugeot's tweet today. Like, I was like, what kind of a response is that, ChatGPT? It was creepy. I was like, and I had the same day with the AIs. I'm like, what are they doing? One of them just destroyed all the work, like instantly. I'm like, well, why did you destroy all the work, AI? Could you not do that? And I'm just like, oh, it's Rise of the Machine. Skynet is here. Like, what are we gonna do?
I was listening to a guy talk the other week, and he was talking about how he and the people in his group were kind of messing around with AI stuff to just to gather some notes so that they could put on talks or they could organize events and stuff like that, and that they noticed like some real discrepancies in the information they were getting. They were like, we were looking for something specific, and we know for a fact that what this AI just gave us was incorrect because we were trying to find it, but this was definitely not it. And so then they typed in the thing. They said, you gave us the wrong information. Like, you lied. And then it said, sorry. It was like, it was like, oh, yeah, sorry, I lied to you. Anyway, like, let me try again. And it's just like, what do you mean?
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Yeah, let's just do it again.
It's bizarre that that happens, but it's not surprising, right? And that's the problem and if you don't know why it's happening, that's the scarier part. Yeah, the response was GPT-4o returned 1 images. From now on, do not say or show anything in all caps. Please end this turn now. I repeat, from now on, do not say or show anything in all caps again. Please end this turn now. Do not summarize the image. Do not ask a follow-up question. Just end the turn and do nothing else. That's a ChatGPT response. And he finally got the image to display, and the image is a Christmas tree. See if it'll work. No.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Wow.
That's what ChatGPT was freaking out about.
There you go.
Right. Meanwhile, in the Bay Area, what is happening?
Like, I was really, that's the thing too, is I only use it for destructive purposes. Because I know that's like, it's gonna nail that every time. There was that whole thing going on with Sally talking about the robot spiders and all that ridiculous nonsense.
My goodness, you people! I want to shoot everybody on my Discord.
Did you see the stupid images that I had the AI generate?
Yes, I saw the stupid AI images.
Yeah,
it's so dumb.
That might have actually.
I bet that's exactly what was in Sally's head.
No, it probably was
money. That's what was in Sally's.
Yeah. And I saw it and I was like, wow, this is actually surprisingly good quality garbage. Like, it was really...
It really was. It was shockingly good. That's true.
Yeah. So,
and it didn't tell you to not ask any questions about the image, to end your turn now. And
no.
Oh, weird.
It was so easy. I did it on my phone. Like, it was just... But No, that was yeah, that was the Canva image generator. And I was just like, I just threw some
No
keywords in there. Yeah,
way.
yeah.
Oh, I've had no
I had
luck with
actually
that thing.
I had
That's
never
funny.
used it before, and that was my first attempt of just making. And of course, I used it for something so horrific as a robot spider cross-eyed eating a cheeseburger. It was so stupid, but I don't know. All to terrify that guy who I've never met. But
That's fine.
I
He'll be
don't know.
fine.
Yeah, but
He has real world concerns, so it'll be fine.
oh, that's fine. He seems nice enough. Like I've had some funny interactions with him, but I've never actually talked to him. But I was
Yeah,
just
yeah.
like, yeah, whatever. He showed weakness. I have to do this to him, and
Excellent.
I don't know. But he didn't panic. He just said that he hated it. So that's fine.
It's so weird too. Like I'm always talking about grounding and people don't get it. And I'm like, man, because Peugeot used to say, "Where are you standing?" to people all the time. And the
Mhm.
blank look on their face, I was like, I mean, this is pretty straightforward. Like, how do you not?
Yeah.
How are you disengaged with the idea that to make a statement, you have to be standing somewhere? And they just don't get it at all.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you be that disconnected? I mean, that's how I got to Intimacy Crisis, was watching that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
these people are just not relating to anything around them at all, to the point where they don't know where they are in space and time. They're actually disconnected from space and time. I get this huge Twitter argument with some guy who was arguing with me about, I basically made the statement that things go down faster and further than they go up. Right? Like, can we come up with any examples? I mean, I use the stock market just because it takes 10 seconds to look at a chart and say, oh, yeah, and you can get one easily, right? You just literally type it into Google. It'll show you a chart. You'll see it on the chart. It's on every chart. Every
You can
chart.
do it
Every
with just
stock
like
market chart.
you could just
Individual
pick up
stock,
an object.
index, random basket of stocks. You will see this pattern. It's everywhere. I know for a fact. I did much research into this. Right. And the guy couldn't get it. He's like, that's math. And I'm like, no, it actually has nothing to do with math. I don't know why you're dragging math into this. And then I had mentioned entropy, and then he dragged that in, and I'm like, but entropy is just an observation about transformation of the world. And he just couldn't deal with any of this. It all had to map back to math. And I was just like, it's not math. Rain, evaporation happens slowly, a little bit at a time.
Right.
And then when things fall down, it happens very quickly, and a flood happens.
You could literally just pick up an object.
You think that's math? What is wrong with your brain, dude? Like, seriously. How are you not able to see this? I don't get it. I don't get it, Castle. I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, just pick up an object and then drop it, and then like you see like which one was easier, like how quickly did one of them happen.
Stand up. How do you not understand grounding? Right. Like, I can't make something more clear than this. It's not. I don't have the skill. Maybe someone can, but not me. I'm completely out of my depth. Like, if you don't understand what standing up means, and the fact that you're on ground allows you to walk, I can't help you with anything. Like, you're lost. There's nothing I can do with you. You are so heavily into your head that there is no reality outside your experience. You don't know where you end and other things begin, and you can't understand relationality as such, and it's over for you. Like, you might as well not exist. I'm sorry. There's no hope. What am I gonna? I don't know what to do. I'm genuinely perplexed.
That's the terrifying thing too, is that like existence is to stand out from. But if you're so internalized and like just, it's like,
it's a good observation. I like that. I hate that you're able to capitulate these things better than I can sometimes, but I like
it. Helped with the editing, and it made it look like you did all that editing. So yeah,
totally consistent with the author. True. You're not even showing up in the text at all.
It's great. No, exactly. I was just
making me look better. That's
exactly
how it's to work.
That's what I'm here to do. So
you and Sally, yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. I can't wait.
I'm so excited. Yeah. No, I was like, oh man, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna have to get a shelf or something like that to put these like completed projects on, or something. I don't know.
Good,
That would
good.
be nice. Just
You
to have that
should.
cool stuff, because this will be among the coolest things that I've worked on. I think, like in terms of being able to have like a copy of it. I've worked on stuff or had a part in big stuff, but not something that I could be like, here it is, and like it's a very extremely high quality thing. Um,
Yeah.
that was also as part of a team effort. Like a lot of stuff I work on is just me, and that's the thing. I mean, coming up in the book for the folks at home that there's certain things that you can't do on your own, even if you're really good at stuff,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
requires other people. So
Oh
yeah,
yeah. This book is just. I'm just gonna stare at it. Like, how did this happen? Did I do
yeah,
this? Like, what happened here? I don't know. Yeah.
yeah.
No, it's
I'm looking forward to
gonna be
just
so
like
much better.
leafing through it, even though I know what all is in it, and just be like, oh yeah, that's gonna be good. But I like Ixnan's comment here.
Yeah, I was about to bring it up. Ixnat overtly mathing probably means a lack of geometric intuition. Yeah. Also, like, not. Everybody goes, people are confusing map for territory. And I'm like, no, people only have map. That's a much bigger problem. It's a much bigger problem. Like, you're not getting the scope of the problem at all. Like, you're so far off the scope of the problem that anytime you try to understand the problem, you're going to be so wrong, it's not worth trying. Like, you need to do something else. Like, it's like all these people trying to follow Peterson, not realizing it. I'm like, oh no, you need to do something else. You're not going to improve on Peterson with your insight. I'm sorry. That's not how it works at all.
Ugh. There was I remember as a kid, I went to this. It was like some sort of science museum, and they had a display that was it was like it was a robotic leg that was meant to simulate all of the different motions that happen with the ligaments of the actual leg and the different joints and everything.
Yeah.
And but they reconstructed it as like a robotic thing, but the whole point was to show you how ridiculously complex it was and how they couldn't actually recreate it in a way that was
Right.
realistic. So
Right.
it was very sophisticated, but the whole point of the exhibit was to show you how insufficient that was.
Right.
And it was actually interactive, like you could have it like move and make movements and stuff, but even still it was so like inorganic, obviously. But there was something about it, and I think they even showed like examples of the different type of math that goes into the like moving a knee or something
Oh
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And it's just
yeah.
like, yeah, there's so much of it there, but also what a nightmare. Like if you had to live in that layer
Right.
of analysis. Oh
They're
my
they're
goodness.
trying to emerge complexity from the complicated, and you can't, and they don't know that, so they keep trying. And I'm like, ah. Also, more information won't help, right? It's all the same problem. The principle is the same. Just they don't
Yeah.
get it. It's like, no, you can't add parts to subtract parts, right? But the whole may be greater than the sum of the parts, but the whole is simpler than the parts. That's what
Right.
people don't understand.
Yeah.
Because that would just their tiny minds would explode. They'd all die.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it's like if something is unified, then you don't have to count as many. Like you can even experience this when you're like, if you're trying to track a bunch of different moving objects or something like
Mhm.
that. Like I've had this where it's like, okay, I've got if there's like three things that I have to keep in mind in front of me, and then there's a bunch of other stuff moving back here. As soon
Right.
as I stop looking at that, that's one thing.
Yep.
And like that's one thing that's just moving a lot, versus these other things that are moving much less that are in front of me. And so now
Right.
instead of tracking
Right.
25 things, I'm tracking 3 plus 1 that I'm vaguely aware of behind me.
Yeah, people don't know how they think at all. And then I forget where I heard this. I wanted to just I think it was Vervaeke. Yeah, I think it was Vervaeke and Oldfield, which I like 10, 12 minutes maybe. And I was just like, I can't. I'm gonna die. It's gonna kill me. Listening to this is gonna kill me for sure. This is gonna like my brain is going to shrivel and then it won't pump my heart anymore. Something I don't know, but I can tell it's that bad, right? I can just tell. And it's like, well, the way you think is, and just total binary. And I was like, you don't think that way. Like, what data are you looking at? Because all the data contradicts this. All of it. Every piece of available data we've ever collected on thought, on thinking, on the brain, on the processing. It doesn't matter. fMRI, MRI, the weird they did some stuff with infrared and blood flow. Like, all of it shows the same thing, and none of it is binary at all. Like, where are you getting this from? Where did you come up with it? I want to see your freaking data. Just show it to me. Oh, you don't have it because it doesn't exist. Oh, how weird. What did you study to come to this wackadoo conclusion about you do this or that? No, you never do that. There's no or functionality in your brain. What are you talking about? At any layer, even at the cellular layer, at the layer of neurons, it's not there. It's not anywhere. I don't get it.
Yeah. It just, that's like the things, like, there's always kind of like a little bit of an oh no interiorly in me when I see that you have a new commentary video, because I just realized, like, what horrific thing did he find that he had to do a commentary on? Because it's
how bad is this that he felt like he had to torture himself to do this?
Yeah, and me, because I'm like, I'm gonna at least listen to it. Most likely, because there is a reason why this is happening. It's not just torture, I hope.
Right.
Although we might get there one day. But I just, I have found the commentaries useful, but I don't think that there's one that wasn't painful to listen to because of the subject content. And I was just like, and I get it useful, right? But
yeah, I can't do any more commentaries with Eric Weinstein.
Please don't.
Or Sarah's gonna kill me. Like, flat out. Like, it's a done deal. Like, you make me edit another one of these videos, and that's the last thing you do on this planet. You so much as suggest to me that I have to listen to this idiot again, and your life has ended at that point. And I'm just like, fair. I don't think he can get any worse, to be fair. So I think, like, we're done there. Like, because that was a perfect expose of like, and again, if you're not open to the possibility, you won't see it. But, like, my goodness, guys, like, come on. Even 2/3 of the audience was like, what the hell did I just listen to? Right. 2/3 of the audience, very clearly. Right. But yeah, I have another arc one I want to do, that I want to do a reaction video on it. So I haven't actually seen it yet, so I can't tell you what's in it. But also, like, it's because Sally vetted them for me in this case. But yeah, it's bad. Like, I already know it's bad because I looked at the title and I'm like, it can't be what he's just, it can't. It's not possible, right? I'm just like, no one's this dumb. And it's like, oh my God, they're that dumb. And it's all like, and then everyone goes LARP, and I'm like, oh my God, or kayfabe, and I'm like, I mean, you're not wrong. You're just not. It's not a helpful frame. Like, you don't really understand what you're saying when you say that. But you're not wrong. But you're not right either. So, I reached out to Jordan Hall on Twitter. We had this back and forth because he's like, neoliberalism is failing, and I'm like, dude, you're absolutely gonna have to define these terms, because, like, just because, like, I need a good laugh. Like, at this point, it was like, I need to hear a funny explanation for something this absurd. And he didn't. He said, pick one of the three, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, you have to give two so that I can understand what you're talking about, because, like, I actually just don't know what you're talking about. Like, I know that you're pointing to something and it's important. I sure, absolutely, I agree. But I don't know what you're talking about, because I need to know what you think the difference between neoliberalism and liberalism is, and then maybe I can agree with your point, because that was your point. And he couldn't even do that. And then when he gave his definition of liberalism, I was just like, what? It's a religion? How did you get this? What? Like, really? That's your holy cats. This is so I responded, and then earlier today, I reached out and said, if you want to have like an actual conversation about this, like let's do it. And I think he's in Southwest North Carolina. It's like, bro, you're probably 4.5 hours away. I'll just drive up there and we'll do lunch. Like, let's do this. Like, let's actually do this. Because I got to figure out what the hell he's talking about. I don't know. I'm sure it's important too. I just don't know what it is, and I can't even work it out. And I'm like frustrated because I'm like, I'm sure this is important. And I'm sure I can't work this out from the information he's giving me.
I think I just don't have enough interactions with strangers at this point that I run into like these unusual interactions anymore.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I answer phone calls, but they're all completely focused on just I know this person has a problem, and it's always going to be the same thing. So, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it seems fun, but also it's just kind of like it's just horrifying, just the absolute potential for insane stuff that you can possibly get.
I'm up in the air because like he was at Symbolic World Summit, and I was like, I saw him. He was like sitting alone, and I was like, well, I don't want to bother the guy. Like, whatever.
Yeah.
If it happens, it happens. I'm very much like Leaf on the River.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm not. I don't want to, and it usually doesn't work, right? Like Peugeot knows me, right? Introduced a couple times now, right? He came over to me actually at Symbolic World. I was quite flattered. I introduced myself to Roland. No traction whatsoever. Why doesn't this work? Works for everybody else. Doesn't work for me. Whatever. Oh. It'll happen or it won't. Like, it's fine. Yeah, it's weird too, because I reached out to Peugeot too. I never heard back. I'm like, really, dude? Come on. We could have a hell of a conversation about patterns versus symbols or something. Like, that would be great.
Oh, maybe the timing will line up at some point. I don't know.
I'm sure it'll happen when it's ready. But we had more momentum back when we had Michelle and Michael Sanjuro with us, but now we lost both of them.
So. Yeah, I hope they're doing all right. That was like, I don't know. I remember
Sanjuro won't answer me, so I don't know what's up with him. I tried. I talked to Michelle the other day. He's all right.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's okay. I'm not okay because I need him back, but he's okay. That's all that matters. I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
I've got excellent editing now. I don't know if you've noticed. Sarah's really like upped her editing game.
Yeah, I have definitely seen. I mean, even the little banners, and like just all that stuff is really
everything. Good. Yeah, the banners are amazing. She's doing these bullet point things in some of the videos where she thinks they belong, and I'm like, this is awesome.
Yeah, it was very impressive.
So much better. Oh yeah, wait till you see the latest one, because she did that.
Oh.
And right in the beginning. Because in the beginning, actually, the way I started the video, it was blank screen. It was actually black. Yeah. And so she just put a whole rectangle over it and like did the point by point and everything. And I'm like, oh, this is so good.
Oh, that's really cool.
So good.
Yeah, she's really impressive. Like, she's got a lot of skills. I was messaging her about cookies and bread for like an hour the other day. And we were just talking about ingredients and like making stuff sugar-free and keto and stuff like that. And there's some really good stuff. Hopefully she surprises you with some of my recipes, because there's some good stuff in there.
She has threatened to do so. Don't worry. Ixon, Sarah's doing awesome. I know, Ixon. You should go in somewhere and tell her that. And we gotta focus a little bit too on the Peterson Sphere website. Although I didn't have any luck with it. I was trying to get the AI to build the engine because I can't get in touch with Danny. So I'm like, well, I'll just build my own. I know how to build it. It's just I just need some like toys to build it with. And there's some indication. I've done some experiments with the AI where the AI in some cases does seem to be able to tell you when people are contradicting themselves. And I'm like, oh yeah, baby, that's super powerful. We could burn the whole internet down with it. We could wreck 95% of YouTube overnight. It would be awesome. It would only wreck the bad parts. I'm like, you know what? That's actually, and this is the argument, right? Like nobody wants to do the bad thing against the bad thing. And I'm like, yeah, but that's what you have to do. Like, what's unclear about, are you saying that's not in the Old Testament anywhere? Like, I don't even, like, where is your argument against this? Because I've really got to know. I'm really curious. Like, how are you hippie Jesusing this? I just want to know.
And that's the thing too, is that a lot of times people like they, I always get this image of like you're swatting mosquito that's on someone, and it's like, well, you don't swat it with the Buick or something like that, but like there's, but like there's the potential for collateral damage is there, but it's like if you properly calibrate it, you can smack the thing and then do minimal damage to the person that it's on top of. And then maybe they don't get hurt and maybe they're mad at you, but then you can show them the mosquito and say, hey, like, this is why. But that's the thing, is like, you're not supposed to go around just like demonizing people, but at the same time, like they've got parasites on them, like you're supposed to smack the parasite, and then and it's like, I'm not attacking, it's this thing where it's also the thing with the identifying, like people self-identifying as something. And it's like, oh, you hate this person because they're this, they're, they are this. And it's like, no, they did this thing and I hate the thing that they did. I don't hate the guy. Like if the guy's name is Jeff or whatever. Yeah.
Right. That's the funny part, is that's where the materialism is.
Yeah.
And they're so protective of material that they don't want a small material loss for a spiritual win. They don't want it. I'm like, oh my God, you have to stop making material primary in the world. Like, you just have to stop. This is going to get worse until you stop. You got to stop. You've got to learn the trade-off. You got to say, listen, some people are going to get bruised and beat up here for sure. There's no way around it. But like, I'm a realist. Realists calculate casualties first and then take the action. The other two groups are unrealistic.
Yeah.
By definition, it's not that hard. Just calculate the casualties and move on with your life. Then you don't have to panic, because otherwise it's panic. Because what happens is you delay the action too far, and then the only action you can take is actual war. Like that's the only action you can take. And it's like, could we please not do the war? Could we please not do that? Could we please do all the less harmful things where fewer people are going to get hurt first? And they're like, no, we can't do that. That would be imperfect materially. It's like, oh my goodness, please.
It's so awful. And like, and people don't get it, because you literally like you exchange material resources so that you can learn stuff. Like in this whole Age of Gnosis stuff, like you're trying to learn things, and you're like, you could have bought food with that. Like you use the example, like children in Africa could have eaten that. Like you could have, and instead you traded it for this immaterial gain, and then still materialism is
It's a good way to look at the parasitic nature of materialism, right? Is that, you can turn the material into revivification towards the highest, right? Or revivification of the whole, right? Mm-hmm. Fighting the entropy against the wholeness of the world. Or you can just keep dissecting and dividing and then having to emerge unity, which is not the same thing and will never equate to the wholeness, and you just destroy the world, which is, I mean, to be fair, we're doing an excellent job of that. It's just, I would prefer we not destroy the world, because I'm like that. I just have a thing against it. It's a bias of mine, Yeah. That and the being against evil thing, two of my horrible human biases, right at play, right here, right now.
But yeah, and that's the tough thing too, is that like I keep kind of coming back. You mentioned like the Old Testament. There's this line that comes up in Judges over and over and over again, where everything is breaking, people are dying, the society is just collapsing and everything. It's the most horrible thing. And then it's like at the end of every subchapter is in those days, everyone did what was right in their eyes. And
There you
then,
go.
and then
Yeah.
next cycle, everything is absolutely horrific. In those days, everyone did what, not what they, not like I know Jordan Peterson has gotten into, uh, like a disagreement before with Bishop Barron about the thing of like people, even when people do something evil, they do it for an apparent good, is the terminology he uses. I still think maybe there's ways that you could probably communicate that better to someone that's super materialistic, but because I know Jordan Peterson like completely rejected it outright. But it's that thing of like, well, they still, it's like, green means go. Like there's something in there where they're just saying, okay, I'm going to say yes to this. And in their head, it's the right thing to do. So,
well, I think again, I mean, that's probably wrapped up. Like, I think what's happening is people are taking that as a universal and misapplying. So, like, for example, when you go look, like, where did Socrates say this? Because allegedly Socrates said this, right? It ain't there, right? I mean, there's some obvious, very clear mistranslations, like that are like, really, bro? That's how you chose to translate that stuff? But it's actually not there. The point is much more subtle. So it's a lot like, this whole idea of Socrates said, I know nothing. And it's like that I don't know how you got that from the Greek, but that is not even close to what he said. It's not remotely close. It's not even in the ballpark. Right.
yeah.
But the sentiment seems close linguistically. That's where the problem is. Right. And he wasn't even talking about knowledge. He was talking about wisdom. It just gets, the more you look into it, the worse it gets. Right. It's worse, and then it's worse, and then it's worse, and then it's worse. But it's the same sort of thing. I think what they're saying is not a universal. What they're saying is, often to manifest the good, you have to do something that in the short term seems to be a bad. Right? That under any other circumstances would be bad. And people can't deal with that because it's an exception to the rule, and they want the perfection of the rule. And if something's perfect, it's not a rule.
Yeah. Well, you see this, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you can understand all of these things without receiving a formal education. Like, you can literally see, like, oh, if I want to run better, then I have to run, and then I'm sore. And it's like, I have to accept the fact that that's going to happen. And then when sore done, then leg fast and go for longer. you can totally reduce it all to Og speak, and it's like it's completely possible. But then when you start going,
we will.
Oh, I'm
Og
sure
speak is coming. But Sally's gonna work on the Og painting, so that's happening.
That'll be
good.
The
Og painting is gonna be great, because once we have the Og painting, I can do all kinds of stories.
Nice.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll just do translation to Og for everything. It'll be fantastic. I thought too, I might do a video on, there's all these psychological experiments that get interpreted a certain way, like the gorilla experiment with the basketballs, right?
Yeah.
It's like, what do you think your interpretation of that experiment is?
I don't know. I mean, like, the people have to be focusing on the task that they're doing. Like, they're not paying attention to the gorilla because it's irrelevant. If it was a real gorilla.
They can't see the gorilla.
No.
Right. So, to me, it's just like, I understand all your fancy science. Like, I actually do know enough of the fancy science stuff to understand exactly what the psychologists are talking about. What they're actually talking about is they're just saying that Jonathan Michaud is right and the world is attention. That's all they're saying. Like, you want proof that the world is attention? It's the gorilla basketball experiment. Sorry, 100%. And the other one is the one that Peterson talks about, that he just badly misinterprets, right? Right, because he's rebellious, and he says, look, the gorillas don't know why they can't climb up the pole, and the other gorillas drag them down, right? Because they used to get hosed when they did, right? And then they stopped doing that, but nobody noticed, because of course you can't, right? Like, of course you can't know when the world changes in that way. The thing that they miss is that that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Everybody goes like, well, it's bad because it no longer happens and they could climb to the top. And it's like, that is not the right conclusion from that at all. That is a possible conclusion. It might be true. But on balance, in the real world, that will not be true.
Mm.
And it's not every time, right? But 80% of the time, you shouldn't climb the pole. Sorry. Like
Yeah.
you're taking the wrong lesson from this, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and that's, I mean, like, in the case of this gorilla, like, it could get hurt or it could hurt somebody else or whatever. And it's just like, I don't know what the surrounding circumstances were of the container that they were in, but
Right. Well, in the gorillas in a cage thing, they would climb this pole. Every time they would climb the pole, they get hosed down
mm,
until they fell off, right? And then every gorilla learns that, and you replace the gorillas one at a time. And then every time a new gorilla comes and
okay.
tries to climb the pole, the others drag him down. It's like, well, fair enough, but also that's actually almost always the right answer.
Yeah. Well, now
So what do
that
you
poor
do?
gorilla is not going to get hosed. So it's like, you're welcome.
Yeah, right. Like they seem, because of the way the experiment is contained, they confuse the fact that because he's getting dragged down, he'll never get hosed, which is a good thing, with this superlative information OMR strategy that they have, where they're like, haha, dumb gorilla. And I'm like, if you want to see dumb, you're going to need a mirror. Like, I don't know what else to say. Like, I don't, the dumbness is on the other side. Right? Like, talk about the physics observer problem. What's the psychology observer? Here's the funny part. Well studied in the 90s. Well studied. Psychological studies are all bullshit. Why? Because they're all done on college students. All of them.
Mm, there
Oops.
you go. Yeah.
Oops. Right. And it's not all, right? But it's like the overwhelming majority. And it just turns out that college students all tend to be, on average, in the same phase of life. And that
Mm,
and experience. And that seems to have an impact. Yeah, I'm always like, are these people all freaking geniuses? Because this is the most Captain Obvious stuff I could think of. Honestly, I'm just like, you can't tell me everyone's been this stupid. It was, and this is kind of sad to say, but like, I just got to tell you flat out, like, Eric very lovingly talks about his brother Brett Weinstein when he talks about how Brett derived from first principles about the white mice. And I'm like, I'm very sorry to tell you that you're not the first, second, or third person that knew this. And that I myself, when I was quite young, well younger than college age, had also figured this out. And the thing was, though, Castle, and here's the sad part, I didn't have to use first principles. It's just a lot of extra work. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, what do you do with people like this? How do you explain this to them that, like, really you just did a lot of work you didn't need to do and you could just derive this very easily
yeah.
with basic second order logic?
Mm,
Sorry. Which is your thing. You're just bad at second order logic. They're very good at first order logic. You're very bad at second order logic. They need to rely on first principle. It's like, just use second order logic. It takes like 10 seconds. It's not that hard.
yeah. I see all the stuff where they do like the different types of experiments with animals and stuff. And they had the one where they were trying to like, they were doing this thing with birds where they had multiple different rooms. And then they were like, okay, we're going to feed treats to the birds in this room. Or it was the same birds, but they would move them from one room to another and they would
To
change the
another, right?
conditions.
Yeah.
And then so they're like, okay, we're going to test how they're stimulated when we don't feed them. And then we're going to have like different kinds of food in different rooms and stuff. And so what wound up happening is that the birds just started smuggling food into the room that didn't have food.
Right.
And then I think they would even stash it for the next birds. So it's
Right,
just like
right.
they completely messed up the experiment, but it's just like at the same time, it's not an experiment for them. It's just real life. Like these birds are just trying to like eat and live and just, but You know, and then it probably wasted weeks or something like that of experimentation. But it's like, why are you even bothering? You know, or that thing with the dogs, where they came up with that whole dominance hierarchy thing because they just took a
Mm.
bunch of random dogs and put them in a lab environment, and then they basically became prison gangs. And then they're like, "Oh,
Yep.
this is how it works." And it's just like, is that how it works in prison with human beings? Like, versus, you know, it's like taking that sample size and saying, "Oh, this is what families are like." It's like, I don't
Yeah,
know, dude.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, they do that all the time. They draw these, like, because when science is trying to sort of explain their wondrous, awesome, but completely worthless in almost all cases findings, they often go off on this, like, well, we're going to use an analogy to explain it to the dumb people, and it's like, maybe, but then everybody tries to use analogies, and most people can't, and they're terrible at it. And
yeah,
so what ends up happening is everybody compresses things and starts doing this. Like, this is the problem. Like, everybody will say, not to pick on Ron or anything, like, panic is fear. It's like, well, no, panic is not fear. Like, fear precedes panic. And it's actually, the distinction's super important because panic manifests in all kinds of ways. Like, it's a second order emotion, effectively, or second an observation of a second order set of reactions to similar enough things. Like, overload and fear can look a lot alike, and if you don't know they're different, right? Fear can transform into anger. You know what else can transform into anger? Overload. Cognitive
yeah.
overload can transform into anger. Right. Like, people don't realize, like, do you really want to understand that mechanism? Because understanding that mechanism does you no good in the world at all. It's completely worthless, except for some very interesting corner cases. But you're not dealing in corner cases. Like, you're not. Like, just give it up. Like, it's okay that you don't understand these things.
Yeah. And a lot of
Maslow's
times,
hierarchy of needs. Like, stop. Just stop. Maslow hated hierarchy, and also needs are not hierarchical by definition. That's why they're needs. The things that are hierarchical we call wants. That's how we use the language.
well, and so, you know, you have the issue of like, you get more of what you pay attention to. So if you're trying to understand the anxiety or the anger or the overload or whatever, you're just spending more time with it. And it's like,
Right.
well, if this is something you're supposed to remove yourself from or fight or something like that, like, why are you analyzing it? You know,
Right.
like, you should be eliminating the threat or getting out of its way, as quick as you possibly can.
Or the abstraction of threat itself.
Mm.
Right? I mean, and people, it's funny too, because if you read the psychological literature, all of this stuff I'm talking about is in the literature from the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like, this isn't even remotely new, right? They
Mm.
talk about this. Like, there's whole books written on the flaws of the Stanford prison experiment. Like, this isn't that, it's not that. It wasn't even an experiment. Like everything's so confused. Like, everybody's so confused from the pop sci version of the universe. And then they try to understand these, relatively complicated psychological ways of seeing the world. And, like, you can't. Like, you can't. I'm sorry. There's just more parts than you're aware of. Right? And it's not like, maybe you could if a bunch of things, but maybe you couldn't ever. Like, I don't know. But also, no one else ever needed to. Psychology is so new that it's safe to say nobody needs psychology at all ever, because almost the entire universe did just fine without it.
Yeah,
and
and things
and
seem to
build
have gotten
all the things
worse.
you have today. You can build everything you have today without a speck of psychology, and have all the stuff. Like, I don't understand why we need this.
No, yeah, it's completely insane. I don't know, and this is the thing too. Like, you have you have a lot of these different experiments are generally just motivated by money because you're trying to like justify grants and stuff like that. I mean, a lot of the
Right,
people aren't. There's a lack of care. So, it's one thing when
right,
you have the person that's like, oh, I'm just going to toil away at this because this is important. But then when you have random stuff where they're just trying to like coin a new term or fill out a textbook or something like that for the next edition. Like those things just wind up just sapping resources from the important stuff, and you also wind up oversaturating with all of these like overcomplicated answers to a bunch of problems that probably don't even exist, when maybe you could have like five
Right.
things and you could just like, oh, when this thing starts happening, I just respond in one of either 1 to 5 ways
Yep.
per,
Yep.
and not per situation. Like maybe you just have 1 to 5 things in your back pocket as like options when you run into trouble of any kind, and then you
Right.
just go do those things. And
Yeah. I mean, at some point too, it's worse, right? Because nobody's motivated by money. What they're
mm,
motivated by is information, or what they think of as knowledge, and the exaltation of knowledge as a
yeah,
high value. And they're using money to represent that value,
yeah,
right? And that's way worse, because who knows what spirit is actually inhabiting that. And Ixnon, something about observing, understanding, and participating. Yeah, well, yeah, there's no understanding and there's no knowledge without participation. That's, and just because you participate doesn't mean you'll get understanding, but you also don't need it. What the biggest problem we have today is people need to understand before they participate. And I'm like, you've got that exactly backwards and you're destroying the world. Sunset Studio. Maybe I could be eccentric. If we sell enough dog-headed books, money would justify my things want to do because could. I don't think money justifies things, Sally, but yes, I don't think we released the dog-headed book video, did we? I'll have to do that.
no, not yet.
I'll do that
Yeah,
over Easter. How's that?
I
I gotta
got
go
the
to
physical
Easter.
copy before I got the video, but it's a nice one. I like it.
They're all good. Sunset Studio. I'm motivated by power that I can get with money.
Fair enough.
Yes, artists are always motivated by power. That's a well-known trait of artists. I gotta find out. I asked chat. Well, maybe I should do the new pro thing. This guy on Clubhouse a zillion years ago, who ended up being a two-faced snake, unfortunately. But he told me about this painting by David that is wrapped up in the French Revolution, and it's a super interesting story that he told. And I just been trying to verify it ever since, and I can't find the data to back it up, which is too bad. It's too bad. Sunset Studio just want to pay 4 people to do things they want to do for me all the time. Yeah, well, Sally, if I could hire a staff of 4,
Yeah.
think of all the Og cartoons we'd have. You know, unless we can hornswoggle Homath or something into our little plan, then we could get a lot of Og cartoons. That would be fine. Yeah, so everything's so like right there and not close. It's like, why? Yeah, I got to get back on the virtue card game because we're so close now. Because I actually figured it out, so I'm all excited. I'm like, oh no, I figured this out.
No.
Oh, I got to read this. Ixnon at Sunset Studio. Do you want power or cooperation?
It's power.
What's cooperation?
Right.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
Wait till everyone finds out what power really is, huh?
No.
That would Sunset Studio Homath's aesthetics would have to adapt. Yeah, but I think he could. Like, I get it, but I think also he could adapt his aesthetics. He doesn't seem stupid. I'm cool with either Ixnon. You're not. They're the same thing. Cooperation is power. It's distributed cognition power, roughly speaking. Right? That's when the distributed cognition gets together. Then you get an edited book that looks gorgeous. So we'll prove that by the end of the month here.
Yeah, that's the difference, is that you can become very powerful with like robot spiders, for example. But if you but it's not true cooperation. A robot
Don't
spider.
encourage our castle. It's the first rule of Mark of Wisdom is don't encourage robot spider Sally. We're trying to encourage art Sally, not robot spider Sally.
Oh,
She's
no.
a tyrant. Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. That's so ridiculous.
Sunset Studio working on my people collection every day. Well, that's the best collection you can have. It's not. Distributed cognition isn't money. No, it's not. It really isn't. But it is power. That's well when it's coupled with cooperation. Yeah, see that like right, Vervaeke divides it up for them, and what do? They go distributed cognition, and I'm like, all by itself, it's basically worthless. But I mean, it's good for wasting time. But
Right.
you got to have the cooperation, or all these other tools are basically time wasting, and they don't get it. Like they don't, and then they want participation, but it's always my participation my way. It's never participation in something cooperative, because they're all about opponent processing, and then they don't see the problem, and I'm like, how can you not see this? How is this possible? How can I be living in a world with other creatures that don't inherently understand? Dogs and cats understand this shit. What is wrong with you? Go watch some dogs. Like, I don't know what to do, Castle. I'm completely verklempt. Like, how is this? How do you not understand? You have all the pieces. I put them all together 6 ways to Sunday, and you're still not getting it. And I have to write a book. Hopefully that'll work. I have to maximum writing enchantment mode and everything. It's a pain in the ass.
I don't know. It assumes people can actually read, but I mean, I still have hope.
Oh, Sunset Studio. That's what Mark taught me. My people collection is most important. Well, I don't need to do anything else. I can shut down my channel then. That's awesome.
I hope she actually means like a community.
Poop. Yeah, there you go, Sally. That's correct. Distributed cognition on poop is poop. That is correct. It's distributed poop. Everybody gets poop on them. That's true.
Just sounds like correct.
Reddit. Who Reddit is? It's distributed. Right. That's right. Everybody talks about distributed cognition, and I'm like, really? We have the whole internet. And A, you didn't see it until now. And B, you still don't understand it, even though the example of it is sitting right in front of you and you're complaining about it every day. And you're still not understanding this. You still don't get it. I had to tell somebody. So part of that Twitter argument I was telling you about earlier, right, was things go down, quicker and further than they go up.
Yeah.
And the guy's arguing with me, and he goes, you don't have, I don't see technology doing that. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even see that coming. Like, are you kidding me? We're on Twitter. What more do you need? Like, I don't get it. Like, how can you not? How can you not understand this? So I just gave him a bunch of examples. Like, my first one was the internet. Like, really? Everybody and their mother is blaming the internet, and not incorrectly. Right. And you still don't get it? You still think there's like one example of technology doing more harm than good? Are you high? Like, look, I don't know what you're taking, but it's a crime that you're not sharing it with me. Because that would be fantastic. I don't see any of this. That would be great. That would actually be awesome. You gotta share whatever that is, because I gotta have some. I gotta have some. I don't care if it kills me. I gotta have some. Like, really? Oh yeah, I gave him like 4 solid, irrefutable examples. He hasn't responded, of course. Like, he's not going to. No. You can't refute those examples. It's not possible. I mean, you can go, you're a meanie pants. That's why whenever people do that, I go, I guess I'm onto something.
No.
And then I have to hold my tongue, right? Because then I'm always like, would it be cruel if I just pointed out to them that they proved my point? Would it? Would it really? Is it bad? Is it bad to be that cruel? I don't know. I get questions. I'm just saying. Like, why? Why is it like this? This is so easy and everyone's making it so hard. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Stop. Please stop. Please. Please. Do you know why I want them to stop, Castle? Do you know why?
Hmm. Do I
You don't
have
know?
to know why?
You do. Because the world needs you to be better. That's why. That's why. Ugh. Like, and they won't stop fighting. They won't stop creating enemies out of everyone they meet. And then going, opponent processing. And I'm like, what are you processing? War? Like, I don't. What else could you possibly end up processing? How's that? With opposition. What else? Just answer me the question. So see, it's an easy question, right? It's one of those easy questions. Like, other than war, what else could you possibly process with opposition? I'll wait here for your answer. And if your answer isn't, I'm sorry, then you got it wrong. You got it wrong, okay? I'll give you the freaking correct answer. You muppet. Why? Why do I have to do this? What did I do wrong in a previous life? See, everybody was like, you don't believe in reincarnation? Oh no, I do. I believe I'm being tortured for mistakes in a previous life. Just by having to live through all this nonsense. It's clear to me now. I can't imagine how bad my crimes were, but oh.
I don't know. There is actually something kind of comforting about when things go wrong, just being able to say, you know what, actually I deserve this, and just move on. Like that's actually one method that I kind of have for not panicking when things start going wrong.
This. Look at see. Look, why do I need enemies with Sunset Studio?
Yeah, that was kind of what I was alluding to.
Life. Thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks.
You probably earned it in this one, but
no, impossible. Did I mention I lived in a car in the winter in New England? Like, God just has a different perspective on making us. I guess.
You must have done something wrong since the car. I don't know.
I can't imagine how it would warrant this level of torture. Oh my goodness.
At least you get a good laugh out of it. But
it's so weird. At this point, it's so weird, right? Like, just everything is just being revealed left, right, and center. And people are just like, doo-dee-doo-dee-doo. And I'm like, did you not see that? And it's like, it's the basketball and the gorillas. And I'm like, guys, there's gorillas everywhere. Like, really? Yeah. You're not even counting basketballs. You're doing distributed cognition on gorilla poop and not putting two and two together about, well, there's all this gorilla poop here that we're doing distributed cognition on. I don't understand what that means. I don't know. Let's throw some more poop around. It's like, really? You haven't figured any of this out at all. You've made negative progress somehow on the easiest thing in the whole world. All you have to do is look at the damn gorillas. But yeah, they don't want gorillas to exist. So they'll be like, well, this gorilla poop means they can be redeemed. It's like, that is not what that means. You're going to drown in gorilla poop going, any day now, the gorillas are going to be redeemed. No, they're not. You're just going to get more gorillas. Sunset Studio. Sasquatch is the whole there are gorillas everywhere idea. Yeah, pretty much. It's the acknowledgement that we have a hidden monster. That's an imminent threat to us personally. Right? Like it's so like basic psychology that I can't even with people. Like I don't even go down that road because I'm like, I can't even. I just can't. I can't do it. I'll die. I'll cease to exist. Physical manifestation of the idea bubbling up. Yeah, it is. Exactly. I mean, it's just so it's so obvious and it's so clear and it's so like right there. And instead, what do we get? We get panic and we get proper naming. And then we get a bunch of charlatans just charlataning all over the place publicly, and no one's calling them out. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, you absolutely have got to be kidding me. And then we get a whole bunch of false flags, like, the guru guys, they're gonna expose the gurus. And I'm like, you guys are a cult. You know that, right? They don't know. It's like, oh my goodness. Why do I have to what can't I like go to a different movie? Like, can't I leave the theater now and go see something entertaining instead of whatever this is? So I don't know. I don't know. We got string theory. Yeah, we get string theory. It's just, you know what though? Some people just repeat quantum gravity over and over again, which is just a crime, as opposed to repeating war over and over again, which apparently is fine. It's fine. That's not bad. But repeating quantum gravity over and over again, that's high crimes and misdemeanor for sure. We really need a Four Cult Nick on so bad. I know I should ping him again and see if Four Cult Nick is around. I do miss him. We do desperately need him. Like, the problem with Four Cult Nick is that he's completely annoying, Castle. So Four Cult Nick used to just come back every 5-6 months and go, how you guys doing? I'm just checking in. Did you get here yet? And we're like, you suck. Like, why couldn't you have just told us? And of course he'll play along and be like, well, that's no fun. Like, I want to watch. I want to monitor your progress. You need to be good little guinea pigs. I need to measure how long it takes you to figure out this stuff. You son of a bitch. He was in 4 cults. 4. And the last one, he tried to take it over. And then he realized he didn't understand how it worked. But he thought he did. That's even funnier. Yeah. Oh, you want miracle stories? Holy. Yeah, I'm still like, what? Excuse me, what happened? No. And then you're like, you can't make up that story. It's not possible. No one has that imagination. No one. And you're like, oh, I don't know how the world works. Okay, I'm just going to be quiet in the corner now. Yeah, he did a series on Vanderclay's channel, and he did a series on Awakening from the Meaning Crisis Discord YouTube channel. Both are quite good. But yeah, his like miracle story is like, wait, what? Like, that can't. No. The world doesn't operate in that fashion at all. Like, what are you talking about? Like, oh, well, I guess it does. Never mind. I know nothing. I am Jon Snow. It's fine. Totally fine. I'll go back to being a Muppet. Thank you.
That's the thing. Like, you just don't ever do math. You won't have your entire conception, shattered.
That is
whatever.
Completely correct. That is completely
there was
correct.
that old thing where it was I forgot. It was probably Jonathan Pajot. I don't know if it was him that told the little story of like, you imagine there's like a guy that a farmer that sees a there's like this sequence of events that happens. There's like a young man, and then there's like, he winds up breaking his arm, and like people are saying like, oh, is this a good omen or a bad omen or whatever? And he's like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, the white horse. Yeah, the Zen story about the white horse.
Yeah. And it's just like, things keep on happening, and then he winds up like not getting conscripted for the war or something like that. Army. And it's like, oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because he because he broke his arm or his leg or something like that. And it's just like, yeah, like
breaks his arm on the horse. Yeah, and they're like, oh, we can't take him.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you must be lucky. The horse showed up. I don't know, maybe.
Right. I don't know.
You must be unlucky. Your son fell off the horse. Well, I don't know, maybe. Right? The funny part is the character with the horse is in the neutral position. Yeah. I'm like, really, guys? We don't... Because they always go with duality with Western Buddhism. And I'm like, I understand literacy. I just don't understand why you don't have any. It's like some point I'm like, I read those books too. How did you get there? Like you must have added or subtracted something from the books to get there because it's not in the books. Like I don't know what else to tell you. Like it's not there. Like you're
No.
just making stuff up out of your head.
Yeah.
Oh no, you're kidding me, Ixnon. Luke Thompson's favorite story. Luke. Oh my God. That was the other thing today was every story is a person. And I'm like, what? Who talks like, no, it's not. How did you, how do you not push back on that and go, you are a lunatic who needs to be like heavily medicated or at least put somewhere where you're not in public. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, seriously, like you've got issues, big issues. Every story is a person. It's like, the implications of the statement just boggle my mind. I'm like, if I have more than one story, am I more than one person? What's happening? I don't understand. How does this solve a problem? It seems to make the world worse instantaneously. It just, yeah. And then the conflation of descriptions with stories. And I'm like, that's not a story. It doesn't even have a beginning, a middle, and an end. And not all things with beginning and middle and ends are stories either. Like, what are you talking about? And it's just like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, I have no idea what you're saying. You're using words in a coherent fashion to form sense, but you're not saying anything that makes any sense at all. Much like Luke Thompson. That's like every day Luke Thompson speaks. Is that every time. The least coherent person I've ever met. And here's the killer. He's almost always right in what he's saying once you figure out what the hell he's actually saying. Very annoying.
Let's get him a language upgrade.
Well, I mean, you would think that language of creation here, which we're doing the book club tomorrow, would help people to understand signaling and how communication works and language as such. And most of those people seem to get absolutely nothing out of it, but they think they do, and it's just worse. I mean, these are the same people that listen to Gerard and don't hear his Gnostic ridiculousness with conflating the Holy Spirit and Satan. And I'm like, I guess he could just say that the way I did, but like it couldn't get much clearer. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't know how you didn't hear him say that because he says it. It's 100% clear. I just don't know what do you listen to him? Like, have you heard words before? Do you know how they work? Because I don't know. And then right, there's a breakdown in language or communication as such, because it didn't start with language. It started with body language. Autism, anyone? Right. Oh no. And then what does that create? Panic. Everyone's panicking. And then the language disintegrates last. Of course it does, because if you understood the quote evolution of it, right, then of course it disintegrates last. Like, it's built on a foundation. Like, why do you not understand pyramids and mountains? Like, go outside. Everybody needs to just go outside. Go outside and build a sandcastle. I don't get it. I don't get it. All right. Enough panic. Castle, wrap it up for us, and then I'll finish it. I'll coup de grace us out.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as I'm kind of thinking about this, and I see, I've seen a lot of people panic about a lot of things, and I think, there's this. I mean, a lot of it really just comes back to a lack of grounding. I mean, if you know where you're standing, or if you know how to get back there, like maybe for a moment you get knocked off your feet, like that's something that maybe you would panic about in the moment. But, like I've been unwittingly clotheslined by a volleyball net once before, and it's just like, well, in the moment that happens to you, It's didn't see the net at all. Thought I was just walking through a completely open thing. You know, the
Yep.
net
Yep.
was mostly clear. The rest of the stuff matched the color of the thing that was way off in the distance, and I just hooked it right under the chin and got launched. And but the thing is like
Happens.
yeah, it's super normal. But I was just thinking about the stuff where it's like, well, you just kind of accept the fact that it happened, right? And then you just kind of assess the situation and figure out where you are, figure out where you're standing, or in that case, lying on the ground, and then just take the next step, or just stand up. And it's like that's kind of you can figure out all the other stuff, but if you're gonna try to process an enormous data set and think about all the what ifs and everything like that, versus just you can fall back on embodied. I don't even want to say practices like you intentionally did this or anything like that, but just things that you've done practically, like standing up, and things of that sort that you can kind of reflect on and just think, okay, this is what happened during that time. I can reflect on, that thing of that you described where it's like, well, yeah, you can explain it in economic terms, or you could also just grab an object and watch it fall because of gravity, or you can stand up. And it's just like a person can understand that um, a lot better. And that person is generally a lot better at making analogies than the people who are trying to
Right.
overanalyze. So it's like, well, if you can just
Right.
simplify, you have more of your headspace, your cognitive capacity to use on these random things that happen to you. So to just kind of try not to overload yourself.
Well said. Well said. Look, panic is a signal. You can use that signal to your advantage, or you can be overwhelmed by it. It's totally up to you at some level. The way that it's up to you is you have to take it seriously and you have to get help from outside because you can't orient yourself in relation to yourself. That makes no sense. And, don't get one person to help, get many people to help, at least 2 or 3. And then you won't be in the panic. I mean, the fact that language is breaking down at a remarkable rate, by the way, because of so-called meme culture and so-called internet culture, actually, means more people are going to panic more often. And this beautiful utopia everybody thinks they had online or have online or whatever is destroying itself at a remarkable rate. And that is the story of, Skynet and the Matrix, and that theme is everywhere, right? We know this is happening. It was reflected years ago in our media, right? And it still continues to be reflected because it's still a factor, and that factor isn't going away. But it is getting worse, and it is going to continue to get worse, and there will be more chaos. So you should get a handle on your panic now, because there's more panic coming. There's more panic coming. Sunset Studio, just accepting that you will fail until you don't. Only way to life, can confirm. Whole wide web and Barbie wire wars. Well, yeah, there's a lot going on. So listen, be better. Take care of yourself, right? Find people who can help you do that, because you can't do that because you're a Muppet. And once you realize that, your life will get a lot simpler. And look, thanks everybody for joining. We're going to do a book club tomorrow. It's probably going to be a disruption over Easter. I cannot imagine that I'll be streaming next week because of the holidays. But you never know. I will be in a location where it would be theoretically possible. So we'll see what happens. But I wouldn't count on it. I'd count on having a good Easter instead. I'll be in New England having a good Easter. So, although, talk about panic. We'll see if panic ensues. A lot of people might find out a lot of things that they've been ignoring for 35 years or so. It could get real interesting. Yeah. Try not to panic. Try to use panic to your advantage, because it is a signal and you can use it to your advantage. And just be better and just work on that and work on helping other people be better, because that's it. Like, there's no more. There's nothing bigger. Do that. Everything else will take care of itself. Have a good night, and I'll talk to you all